Dreaming, I must be dreaming. Or am I really lying here with you? Baby, you take me in your arms. And though I'm wide awake, I know my dream is coming true. And I know I just fall in love again. Just one touch and then it happens every time. There I go by, just fall in love again. And when I do, I can't help myself but fall in love with you. David, quick, name who covers that song all the time.
Oh God, this is not my forte, actually.
No, it's a Stern reference.
Oh,
Very obvious. I don't know. Maybe you didn't hear
oh,
it.
is it Fred? Does Fred do it?
No, it's Artie. Artie's mom. Here's what I feel like. Artie's mom loves Anne Murray, and I think he grew up listening to her on Mon Music
Okay.
driving around. So he somehow memorized that song, and for some
Oh,
reason,
interesting.
he would just bust out into it on the Stern Show all the time. I think it's the
God, I must
funniest
have
thing in
missed
the world.
those. Okay, yeah. Well, I love he would do like when um who played Howard's wife in Private Parts? What's her name?
Mary McCormick.
When Mary McCormick would come on and she would talk about her British theater producing
Oh yeah,
husband,
yeah,
and
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Artie would talk about No Nanette just because like Babe Ruth was somehow tangentially
They were
involved in it.
they were goofing on because, and they made it out the guy, which is actually he's actually a big producer director now, and
Yeah,
he's like Artie's thing was he goes Mary. He didn't know what he sounded like. They didn't know, so it wasn't like he's British, but they didn't know what he sounded like. He goes,
right.
Mary, Mary, I have a new screenplay. Meet me at the Howard Johnsons. And it's like he's just this scrub, he's this scrub director with
Right.
no, just wayward. I want to say hi to Cowla A. Smith. Welcome back, Kyle. It's 3 a.m. That is such a compliment.
Oh
You
my
were willing.
gosh.
Those are my hours. Those are my. Those are the Depp hours, Cowla. Depp doesn't go to bed till 7 a.m. Right? Still got 4 hours of night left. Just ask Stephen Roderick. There's A. Smith. Kathy Scott, welcome, Kat. We have a deafening virgin in Kat Scott. Welcome, Kathy. Kylo Sierra Alpha, welcome. David C, always great to see you, sir. There's A. Smith. Where you where you at, Cal? Ben 4810. It is not. That is Anne Murray, as you know, Ben. Does anyone know that song? That's crazy. T
I've
Busy.
I've heard it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think most people. It's mom music. If you're
She's
cruising
she's
around,
a Canadian singer, right?
is she
Anne
Canuck?
Murray.
I didn't even know that.
I think she is. Yeah.
I'm sure some of. There's a lot of great Canucks that have come in.
Yeah.
There's Lauren Marie. Lauren, I want to give you a meek apology. I never disagreed with you. I just didn't. And this is a great confession. This is when we all were stealing music. Like I just still don't anymore. Um, that song, I said hallelujah. It's called Tell me, do you want to get down? And I insisted that it was the Chemical Brothers, and you
Hmm.
corrected me. And Lauren, if you can remember the name of the band, it's a really weird name, and I just can't get it in my head. So I go and I'm singing. I'm trying to look at songs to sing for Depp's album, and you were absolutely right. It is not the Chemical Brothers. What I did was, so back in the day, I illegally downloaded it from like Kazaa or Napster or something like that. And that's how it was. So the person who uploaded it to these things thought it was the Chemical Brothers. So that's what
Oh.
I downloaded and put it on my MP3. And forever, I just assumed they were right. You can't trust Bearshare or Kazaa, I guess. I forget that it's a weird name of a band. It's like so hard to grab it. Thank you, Lauren. Low Fidelity All Stars.
Oh
So
God.
that's tough to remember, right? Low
Yeah.
Fidelity All Stars. There's
Yeah.
G
That's a
Canada. Welcome,
new
sir.
name for me.
How about the High Fidelity All Star Snubs? That's my spinoff, Lauren. Speaking of snubs, Sarah, how are you feeling for everybody right now?
I am probably 55% better.
Oh
You
On the
wow.
sound better.
road. I'm on the road. I guess they call it recovery. I don't feel it quite yet.
If
Hmm.
you don't feel well, you can bail on because David is here. You are comfort, as Stephen Williams said about Dustin Gwen. You can bail if you don't feel well at any point.
as I said, I think in the Jump Street Patreon episode, this is my third. I'm not exaggerating. This
You've
is
been
my
sick a long
third
time.
of the year,
Right.
and this one is the worst. It's disgusting. Things have come up that I would never think are growing in my body, and I want to die most days. But I'm back to work,
Oh,
and whatever. It'll be
okay.
gone soon.
Did you have to power through at work as one of those
Yes,
deals where you just
it's horrifying because at work you can't be sick because they automatically think you have COVID and will send you home for 2 weeks.
do you have to engage anybody?
No, thank God. But
Okay,
I can't stop the coughing,
right,
so I have to like, oh, sorry guys, I'm just choking.
right.
It's like, oh, it's misery. It's 12 hours of misery.
Such scintillating repartee. I'd get better conversation from the android. You.
Okay.
Fooling around
Um,
with video drops because I
alright.
didn't realize it's such a great thing we could do, and I don't take nearly enough advantage of it.
It was like, has Bond infiltrated the show?
No, it's
We
just-
need a better way to do it because that cuts off mics when we do that.
no, I know, but I'm only going to do it when I sense a
Only thing I
lull.
can think of to do it through. So I don't know. We'll figure it out someday.
Well, I'm glad you're. I mean, you're a broad who takes care of yourself, right? I mean, like you don't deserve that, as far as I can tell.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, for the most part. Would you stop? Please stop. Just give me 2 seconds.
A new toy.
New toy, exactly.
I'll delete them
right.
all. He doesn't even know how to delete them and add them, so I'll just delete
Whoa!
them.
What do you call me, a Luddite?
Whatever. Move
Well,
forward.
I'll turn this podcast around and drive home right now.
I'll change the
Classic
password,
W.
and then he'll really be screwed.
You know the password's Jonathan Scotchy, right?
You don't know the password.
It's got to be. It's
You're
a check,
lucky
as they
that
say it.
you're lucky your computer has memory and you're able to log in from that one time you entered it.
You're like a sitcom wise ass. You know that?
Uh-huh.
I have this thing of you that you base your whole personality on B. Arthur talking reductively to Blanche, who played
No
Rue
Rose.
McClanahan.
Rue McClanahan. Rue McClanahan. Speaking reductively, I'm your Rue McClanahan.
No, you're my
Rube.
Rose.
My new nickname is Rube
I'm
McClanahan.
gonna beat you up top the head with a newspaper.
You would, Sarah, let the poison out. Says A. Smith. Dovey, that's such a great, like, turn the car and go home. That's exactly how the cut. That's exactly what she means.
I wouldn't even turn the car. I would just open the car door and push him out.
I'm not going to lose my vacation just because of this kid.
G. Canada says, I don't take care of myself at all and I never get sick. You should try it sometime.
I work in
Some-
a petri dish with disgusting people
Yeah.
who don't care.
Oh, God, that's awful.
Yeah.
The
They-
ironic part is in Canada, they have the greatest healthcare system and he doesn't get sick. You just take advantage of it. Sarah wants all your copays. G. Canada.
No,
if
my
you would.
copays are excellent. Thank you. And when I make an appointment, I can get in within a few days. I don't have to wait 6 months. God bless America.
Who, my Declan McClintock over here? Welcome, sir. This is now officially a super spreader event.
I love new names.
That's a great
Let
name.
me do my
He's been in
shtick.
here before.
Let me do my shtick.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
We are almost halfway. Oh God, because of my sickness. I apologize, everybody, for last week. We are more than halfway through the month, and we are only slightly below halfway to our goal for the ARM fund. So please, I think we're at like 140 for the ARM fund for the month. So please, if you can donate via super chat, super sticker, I haven't done this in a while, or super thanks, or join us over on patreon.com/WINO forever. All monies go to Mr. ARM. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Happy Deprecon Day, everyone. A lot of people don't realize it is St. Patrick's Day, coinciding with the second day of the NCAA tournament, which is like a Biznick's dream, is to just chug back fucking pints of Guinness while watching 12 hours of tournament. And so in my avatar is Depp and Marlon Brando in a film that never got made entirely. I think they might have gotten halfway through it, called Divine Rapture, which was supposed to come out like in '96, like before Donnie Brasco And yeah, they're like, so it's a movie. Let me see if I can. It's set in Ireland. I just want to get you the full story here. Divine Rapture is an uncompleted film that had been cast in 1995 with Marlon Brando, Johnny Depp, Deborah Winger, and John Hurt. Divine Rapture is a story of a set of miracles in the small 1950s Irish community, a small Irish town in Ballycotton, County Cork, where filming took place in the summer of 1995, expected to generate significant revenue from the production. 2 weeks into the production, however, the filming stopped abruptly as the escrow account for the production company, Cinefin, was found to be non-existent. Only 24 minutes of actual footage has been shot. Where the fuck do we get that? 24 minutes, like a sitcom, right?
Yeah, right.
just turn it into a sitcom, The Divine Rapture, and just put laugh tracks in the middle of it. And
that's actually a great name for a sitcom.
It is a good name for a sitcom, right? That's crazy. You would think now too with like Depps. Apparently it's a doc. Oh, sorry. In 2009, Hotshot Films produced a document. I heard about this documentary called "The Bally Brando," recounting the story with interviews of the cast and crew of the team, including producer Barry Navidi, who had worked 6 years to get Divine Rapture made. Imagine working on something for 6 years and it just never materializes.
Yeah.
You're not really getting a salary. The documentary also includes scenes from a headstone. We got to do this. Stands of Ballycotton's Main Street, erected by a local potter, Stephen Pierce, marking the event. It reads: Divine Rapture, born July 10th, 1995, died July 23rd, 1995. RIP. Bally Brando ends with the news that Navidi is reworking the script under a new title, Holy Mackerel, and he hopes to film it again in Ireland. Maybe we could dig up Brando to do it again. I mean, I'm sure he'd do it, right? This would be the only. How could you? Now, I've heard about this documentary. I didn't really think it existed. We got to track this down. If anyone, your boss, your Johnny Bye-Bye, who I need to thank, right? Johnny Bye-Bye, thank you so much. Again, the man excavated books that I can't believe. If he listens, I mean, I don't know how intently he listens. Sara, do you remember we did a story on Sean Levy, the director?
No, but I'm sure we did.
Do you know who he is, David? He's a pretty big director, Sean Levy. Tons of. So he was in an episode of 21 Jump Street in season 4. And it's the one with Marilyn Manson as the cameo, Sara. The one
right.
It's a weird title, and it's like a 2-part. So he basically plays a kid in college who joins a cult and follows his girlfriend to spring break. And John Waters is in this, and it's a strange season 4 episode. And Depp is, grudgingly, you talk about 9 toes out the door of Jump Street. This fucking episode just it epitomizes it.
Is this what created the bridge to do Crybaby with John Waters?
I think they had filmed it already. And so Depp used his power on the show to get John Waters to do a cameo on the bus that drives them to Fort Lauderdale.
It's very creepy.
It's bizarre. It's bizarre.
This was also the episode where they were interviewed on the set, DeLuise and Depp.
Oh,
and they were very honest, and they said, yeah, the script sucked.
We know Depp hates the show, but I've never heard DeLuise eviscerate it like that. Because DeLuise goes on to do a fucking season 5 after that.
Right.
So they're talking about how just sort of irresponsible the scripts had become. Well, and
I also wonder if DeLuise saw the writing on the wall, like, Johnny Depp is clearly getting the big Hollywood career out of this, not me. So I might as well ride this thing into the ground for the money, as Sara said.
That's a great point, and I got a lot of follow-up on that. I think the whole cast was thinking on those terms.
Syndication shekels.
They were kind of like, and I think it was Holly Robinson that had come out and be like, that's fine. You have this burgeoning, massive A-list movie star career. We all don't have that. So please let us finish the show and stop, because I thought they were going to shut production down. But the ironic part is there is no show without him.
Yeah.
You're not going to even get to that point.
It's so funny. Golden Girls tie-in. I'm sure Sara knows this. There's the spinoff, The Golden Palace, where B. Arthur. It's horrible, but B. Arthur left the show, so it's just the remaining 3 women. And Rue McClanahan wrote in her biography, she wished the show would have gone 4 years, because then she could have gotten syndication money, but it only went one season because it's just so lopsided without B. Arthur as kind of the central character. So it's a similar situation,
That's kind of funny because I guess B. Arthur is the Johnny Depp of the Golden Girls, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, totally.
I never thought of that comparison. That's crazy.
And the script, the opinions on the script also were very similar.
She hated the scripts, right? I think I heard that too.
The last 2 seasons, she was miserable.
Wow.
Yeah.
She's a smart broad. I mean, I've seen her in interviews and stuff. She's a very cerebral. I could see her expectations. She worked on some killer sitcoms before that.
I also think that because she was she was technically the star, quote, of Golden Girls. She got first billing, but when she had Maude, like, she was the star of that show, and they're much meatier scripts. Like, she could actually sink her teeth into. I think I love her character on Golden Girls, but I do think that because she's the, quote, voice of reason character, it maybe wasn't as fun for her, dramatically.
Yeah. Well, she had to deal with, like, Betty White wanted to bring pets onto the show and give them a pet. She's like, no, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. I'm going to leave if this continues. And that last season is garbage.
Yeah, I agree.
She also, if you look, little fact, a lot of people know this already, but if you look at the front door, there is an exclamation point that's carved into the door. That she carved that in. That was like a good luck symbol for her to make it through, the shooting day.
Sure.
But yeah, that's interesting. I see every time I see that, I'm like, oh, she carved that. That's very cool.
Oh, I didn't.
Wish I had that door.
I didn't know that. Yeah.
To follow that up, David, I'm going to come out with a documentary called Golden Shower, where it's about nothing but Depp pissing on Oliver Stone on the set of Platoon when they go out and cut loose on the weekends. Which is a true story, everyone. That's a true story.
By the way, thank you, Kathy Scott, for the $9.99.
I'm getting there. Yeah, I see it too. A. Smith says I'd rather watch Golden Girls over any episode of 90210. That's interesting. You don't know what to do with that, Sarah, because you love them both. You don't know what to do.
Golden Girls much more.
Oh, you do love it more?
Of course.
Okay.
And it's 20 minutes as opposed to 45 minutes.
Thank you, Kathy Scott. Thank you for your debut. Please come back over. If you have any ideas, you want to sit in on the 21 Jump Street watch along, even here, if you get comfortable. We're always looking for guest stars down the road. Sometimes it's a last minute thing, so you can't expect everybody to drop everything to do this nonsense. I don't consider it nonsense. This is my bailiwick, but a lot of people do consider it nonsense. That's fine.
We also have
nonsense is my not nonsense. Go ahead.
Before we forget, there's a show note for next weekend. So there's no Friday night show. We are going to do it Sunday.
Yeah, right. Middle afternoon or something like that. That's like an NFL thing too. When the NFL goes away, it opens up Sunday for all this options. Because I'm so locked in. I have such OCD for that NFL season that I can't deal with conflict. So I think that's kind of why we moved it to Friday night or Thursday, right, Sarah?
Yeah, but it's just this week. Normally it will be Fridays.
So the A. Smith, thank you so much, sir, because A. Smith reminds me, and I didn't even realize this. Sometimes, I have these little glitches in the brain, in the Depp brain. There is a trailer for Divine Rapture on YouTube, and I think it goes something like this.
If you're not making money on social media,
and we see some random pasty fucking white guy.
You always get an ad.
I know.
Yeah, I'm definitely less reliant on social media.
Go into your regular YouTube. Don't use this one.
Who gets the royalties for that commercial? Being that the movie didn't come out, maybe you could fund the whole movie from that commercial you just ran.
Yeah. Maybe
Bally cut.
Maybe Wix can fund Divine Rapture.
The name of this guy is Mick O'Connell, who uploaded this. Maybe we can get him on the show. Why would? Because nobody would upload it unless you had some affiliation to the production, right?
Repeat after me. I love my shoes. I love my shoes.
I love my shoes. I hate
I love my shoes. You love your shoes.
Mary.
What happened to her, Doc?
If you trace her family history, you'll find they all died young. Very sad.
Sarah, real quick, I don't watch what's the HBO show, the Dungeons and Dragons show again?
Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones. That pretty much looks like it, right? That the ocean shot, because isn't it shot in Ireland?
Yeah, part
Pretty
of it
much.
is.
Okay, that's what it reminded me of. The one episode I watched.
There's the good doctor.
The drunken old fool. God knows how many he's buried alive.
Did she tell you about the miracle of the fish? Fish. It's a mackerel. It's a miracle. Ha! Mackerel. It's raining mackerel. Fish began raining on you. Oh! Flapping and wiggling and moving around all over the street. I saw it with my own eyes, and it was like a miracle.
Yeah, that's not a wig.
Is there any word yet from your man of science?
Why don't you give me a sign? Any sign will do.
I think she's working on another miracle. I can feel it. Oh, I am so scared.
It's raining fishes.
Oh wow! I own Peter Gabriel. I own Bill Collins.
What does she think she's doing? No, she's robbing me socks.
I own Genesis.
No.
Public domain. I own this music. Deborah Winger.
Deborah Winger.
Oh, look, it's Johnny Depp and John Hurt.
John Hurt, Brando. Brando's reading the script off a thing.
What?
And the font I used in 1997.
Papyrus
Find out
font.
what's really going on with Mary Fitzpatrick.
Indeed, we will.
I have the Medical Institute in Dublin working on it.
And I have the Almighty. Good day to you, Doctor.
I think I pulled that wig off of a sweater I owned.
So Sarah's right. That is Marlon Brando's real hair. That's definitely his real hair, and it's still growing as we speak. So what do you think of that? That's 1996. It's amazing how how easily Depp could fund that movie with his Pirates money, even now, right? That's what would have happened had this been shot 6 years later.
I mean, I'm shocked that they couldn't find funding for that. It's all, there's no special effects. It looks like it's all like cheap locations in Cork that they could have rented for a day, and you know.
I have made the mistake of watching something just because Marlon Brando's name was on it, and that was called The Island of Dr. Moreau. I went to the theater, and I want my money back plus pain and suffering.
Wasn't Val
Val
Kilmer in that?
Yeah.
Yeah. He's an old associate of Depps. I don't know when the last time they spoke.
See, I fell in love with Val Kilmer in the Doors movie, and then years later he did The Ghost in the Darkness, and he was so sexy. And then the next movie was The Island of Dr. Moreau, so I was still on my Val Kilmer high,
Right.
and it died after that movie.
Did you see The Saint?
No.
Oh, okay.
Willow.
Oh, yes.
He's very attractive in Willow. Yeah.
Oh my! I had a poster of him from Willow on my wall as a child. But then the little Hobbit man ruined my.
Yeah. Warwick Davis. Yeah.
Cooper says Arm is the Depp of Gunk and Monique is the DeLuise. What does that make Xavier? Blowfish?
He's the Aoki.
Aoki.
No. I think you're right. The blowfish. Let's go with that.
Aoki could be. Aoki's a great compliment with those martial arts.
Yeah, that's why I say blowfish. I'm just kidding.
G. Cannon, is there a single TV show in the history of the world that Arm won't compare to the #1 star? There isn't. There isn't, G. Canada. I will, and that's what you're gonna do on Depp Delusion, shit like that. Even though
Oh,
Go ahead,
sorry.
go ahead,
Did
go
you
ahead, go.
ever see? There was a movie that did come out around the same year that was filmed in Ireland. I think it's called like Last of the High Kings with Jared Leto, Catherine O'Hara, and Christina Ricci.
I did not see it. I did not see it.
But yeah, I mean, it's like an obscure Miramax movie from that around that same time. So that seemed to be. I don't know if there were like good tax incentives in Ireland in the 90s that they could just go film there, and all these
David
American
brings up a
companies were
great
making
point.
movies.
You guys saw the trailer for that. How much could that possibly have cost that you run out of funding? Is it Brando's salary that's costing so much? What on earth are they paying for? You saw William Hurt and Deborah Winger, and I love it too. Like the thing is set in did I say the 50s or the 30s? Depp loves
I
period
missed that
pieces.
part of
God
it.
damn, he loves
I'm
period.
not sure what era.
50s, 1950s Irish community.
Okay.
Were there soul patches in 1950s? Did you see Depp's soul patch?
You can do whatever he wants in any era.
Did men make their faces look like David Duchovney in 1994 and 1955?
He was wearing Dior cologne and I had a soul patch and a Viper Room wristband on in that scene, which is crazy to me. David's. So I don't know, what the actual budget for that is. I'd love to know. I had heard Depp got paid next to nothing for that when this stuff was going on, and they had been just to get Marlon Brando in a movie was just that's the third film Depp would have done with him. So he did Don Juan DeMarco and The Brave, which is a film he directed that never came out in the States. Was kind of a pan.
And I feel like there was. I feel like there was still a non-ironic reverence for Marlon Brando in the mid-90s.
Totally, he's worshipped by every actor of that generation.
I still feel that way about him, even though I'm still madly in love with him from On the Waterfront. And I'm learning dark things about him now, doing this James Dean thing because they were linked, of course.
Right.
Apparently, they had a very heavy bondage relationship. Yes, I would watch if there was a video, but I'm learning things I never knew, and I don't want to know.
Make no mistake, he is got a presence that the je ne sais quoi that you cannot define, and I get it. I certainly get it. He had his own, which I totally agree with, and this could be a laziness, and nevertheless, you know where Depp got this from, where he said, I'm not going to memorize my script. I'm just gonna. You're going to have, he was reading off cue cards while he was acting because he felt like, and his point is a great point. It's like in real life, when you're portraying people who you're trying to look realistic, you don't have perfect shit coming out of your mouth all the time as like a script that's just seamless and flawless and well written and perfectly punctuated. He's like, you pause and you stutter and you do stuff. So if the cue card's there and I'm not, it gives me the option to pause if I want. God forbid.
I was going to say, like, I bet the script was written on every mackerel that was falling from the sky in that scene from the trailer.
Did that look like hacky sitcom by the mackerel falling? So like something out of like Nickelodeon, almost like getting slimed with mackerel.
To me, it just seems like one of those overly earnest 90s like chocolat type of movies.
I was waiting at the end for that. Let my love open the door. Playing.
Yeah.
Bon Jovi, if you're listening, get that on a drop.
I don't care, whatever.
Sarah covers Pete Townsend. Yeah.
There's so many similarities, and David just said chocolat. I see Finding Neverland in that, right? You see a lot of period pieces he's done that kind of feel like that. Finding Neverland's very similar looking.
Not even just period pieces, but just those like soft, like Shakespeare in Love kind of. They're not quite rom-coms. They're not quite like, they don't know what they are, but they're just trying to be like a
Miramax pandering to Oscar.
Right.
That's exactly right. That's and Finding Neverland was a Miramax movie.
Mm-hmm.
You love that name, right? That's my new nickname for you is Miramax. Your mom's name Mirror, right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Lauren Marie loves the Golden Girls. I have seen the entire show 20 times over. Yeah. Same with The Office.
I've never watched The Office.
You should watch it. It's not a masterpiece, but it's very good. It was an original. I mean, it's everyone's different. I thought it was really good. I love The Office too. The Ricky Gervais version, and apparently it's pretty good in England. So I never saw the Ricky Gervais one.
Yeah. I will say of Golden Girls, like there's probably like 30% of the episodes in any season I could watch over and over again. That show sometimes, in my opinion, suffers from the very special episode parade, which
that empty
can't
nest
stand.
episode. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. That empty nest episode where they're setting up the empty nest show and they completely didn't even use it. That is the worst episode of that entire series. I don't even watch it anymore.
Easily. Yeah.
Who am I, Dick Mulligan over here?
I think I am so. Besides the show just being a good show, I really got into it. I was fired from a job, and through my depression, where you're waiting for that unemployment to come in and all that, I would get up in the morning. I would just put in a Golden Girls DVD, season 2, and just take a nap on the couch to the Golden Girls in the background.
It's comforting background stuff for you.
Got me through like 2 weeks of not knowing what the F was going on in my life.
Right.
Wow.
And it was just comforting. Every night I would go to bed to it, whatever. It was there for me. Now it's special to me.
Like my favorite, this is so sorry. I'll get off this in a second, but
I can talk about that show all day.
I know the tofu deppening, where we can talk about anything not related to Johnny Depp.
We do anyway.
No, but my favorite episodes are like the stupid cutaway ones where it's like, remember the time that there's like a theme to the episode and they cut back to all these flashbacks and stuff.
Oh yeah,
because like you said, it's just comforting, and I don't really have to pay attention to whether Rose has like a pill addiction or like. I hate those episodes.
The bumper music is soothing.
Yeah.
I know it's great. Oh, I love it. I love it.
The clip show, 21 Jump Street is 2 clip shows, which annoy the shit out of me. It's such a lazy trope. Every show does it. They all do it to save money, and they have them sitting around. There's a poker game. Actually, that's not a clip show because they're recounting their childhood and their worst devastations.
Yeah.
And then the clip show is a Back to the Future takeoff in season 4.
The Golden Girls. Not only would they do a clip show every season, but it was a 2-parter. Every clip show that Golden Girls did was a 2-parter.
Yeah. It's an easy thing to do, to save money. By the way, George Clooney was on that once, right? He's on Roseanne. He was on fucking Facts of Life.
Yeah, I'm doing my Roseanne rewatch too right now.
Jesus Christ. Oh my! Nice. I feel like I'm working at Edna's Edibles over here, huh?
I never understood. Not the Edna's Edibles. What was the one before? Was that the Edibles?
Oh no! Well, she was the teacher at the school.
Oh no, sorry, it was the Cloris Leachman gift shop they opened up.
Okay.
Everything was neon, and I couldn't figure. Yeah, I couldn't figure out what they were selling in that store.
Right.
It was just like neon signs everywhere, if I remember right. I was like, I don't know what you're selling. Is this still a whatever? Let's move on.
Thank you, Kathy Scott, for joining the Patreon. If you have any requests, anything, let me know. I put a lot of Depp stuff that is completely just shit like the short movie he did, Every Cake Neil. He directed this in early 1990, and his whole family is involved. And if you go on the Patreon, scroll down, you'll see it's bizarre. He directed this and wrote it with his brother Danny, who David is a complete. David's a Danophile.
I'm halfway through that book. God, it's killing me.
Johnny Bye sent us the whole collection of them.
Okay. Yeah.
So I have the whole Danny Depp collection. It's just like Tom Clancy. It's the same.
Good, then don't make him suffer. You read them.
I'm gonna read. Well, David, he even.
No, I volunteered.
You want to look for the Johnny Depp similarities or parallels in what he's writing about, because clearly he's using his brother as an inspiration for a lot of this Hollywood experience.
And I think he's. Sorry, go ahead, Sarah.
No. I was going to say, I'm pimping Patreon again. We do have a very special Patreon exclusive release coming. It's an ARM project that he's been working on diligently for the last few weeks, and it should be, it's up to him when it's done, but I would say within a week or 2, you'll have that done, sir.
Rush, hurry, lover, come to me.
That's good. Stop.
Just give you a little tease. Sue Monster, I just shoveled so much corned beef and cabbage down my pie hole. Oh God. I don't like Irish
I love
food.
corned beef though.
That's okay. You got to
Yeah, with the
spice it up
cabbage.
with some. It's bizarre. Irish in their food. It's bizarre. Shepherd's pie is good, which I've never made. That's been an aspiration of mine. I have
only
had
like
shepherd's pie from
I only
Costco.
like cabbage on pulled pork.
Yeah.
Pork for you to pull, honey. Cabbage.
I got a
Have you guys?
cabbage for you to put on your pulled pork.
I can bring anything back to
gross.
Depp. I remember Depp talking about living in Ireland, England, and he's like, no, the only thing we eat, I had shepherd's pie with Paul McCartney at a pub once, and I'm like, what the hell is that? I didn't know what it was, and so I'm running around trying to research it. And then a few months later, I realized Costco has it in there. They have like a pre-made food section. You ever see this in the back?
Yeah.
Where it's good. It's really good. It's their desserts are great, and their pre-made food is great, and their food court is, and their pizza's great, and their hot dogs are great.
That's such a famous American, like British, that's such a collected experience, like shepherd's pie with Paul McCartney,
Yeah, it is. He loves dropping that. Hooper 45. You should have done a review on Depp. We're gonna do that, Hooper. Crock of Gold. This all this Ireland. Depp is, I think, a quarter Irish and 1/50th Cherokee Indian, and he's German. And yeah, Crock of Gold is the Shane McGowan thing. I saw a half hour of it, Hooper, and I'm still.
I saw the same. It depressed me.
Why looking at Shane McGowan during that?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's actually an excellent idea. That's a great. That would be a great St. Patrick's Day idea to do that on St. Patrick's Day with. Do you know who Shane McGowan is, David?
I don't. Any
He's
relation
the
to
lead
Rose?
singer of a band called the Pogues, and it's like a
Okay.
very kind of. They're not obscure to people, but it's like a band to say that
they're known.
Yeah, but it's
They're
a
known,
great
right.
name to look cool. I like the Pogues.
Right.
I like Shane. And whether or not you like the music is debatable, but that's definitely like a hip alternative. What would you call it? Punk alternative? It's hard
I would
to
say so,
classify. Yeah, right. It's one of those bands you say, and it really gives you a cool factor if you say you like them.
Right.
The Popes and the Pogues, I think they had two different names at a certain point. Ireland is an amazing place. Yeah, my sister went to Ireland, G Canada. They raved about it. They feel
I
the
was
same way
obsessed
you
with
do.
U2 in the 90s, and I wanted to live in Ireland
Yep.
and marry the Edge.
Carlo wants to watch Divine Rapture. I do too. I definitely have to. I mean, I'll take the 24 minutes. I will. They should just pick it up right from now. Why doesn't Depp, like he did with Thompson, right? Just fund the movie now and do it over again.
Well, first of all, the trailer looks like it was filmed. The trailer consisted of like 10 shooting locations, and they only got 24 minutes of footage. Like,
yes,
that seems crazy to me.
There's Ida Greenbacks. Ida, hi.
Ida.
Yes, David says hi there. Because of Ida, I went and I found a Andy Cohen inspired thing about Nepo-Babies, but it wasn't it was a different thing, but he's in it, and Alison Williams is in it. Did I mute myself? No.
No.
I heard a bleep of some kind.
It might be, I don't know, maybe my headset, because I'm muting myself every 2 seconds.
So let's go to this more again with Lily Rose and the Nepo-Baby. This Nepo-Baby term, by the way, has gone crazy. Have you guys noticed this? It's everywhere now.
I remember not even on the Deppening, but on like a gunk, you using that term like maybe 4 years ago, and now I hear it all the time. Not even just in relationship to Lily Depp.
A lot of people steal from Arm.
Bill Maher, you're gonna hear Bill Maher comment, and it's gonna seem like he listens to this show. He's the exact rant I do about this. It's crazy. It's eerie, and I'm not. It sounds like so pompous. It's so like he would ever listen to a show, but it's ridiculous.
Well,
you've heard me do this nepotism rant all the time.
I do. I will say this. I feel like a lot of these, like especially someone like Bill Maher, like if they want any dirt on Howard, they'll Google him. Like the fact that like gunk stuff comes up for like Beth searches or stuff like that. I feel like it's not out of the realm of possibility that
not these days, no,
that they would discover gunk and then maybe tangentially. I'm so aware that I use the word tangentially now because you pointed it out.
It's a great word. It's a great word.
That they would find the Deppening too. So I don't know.
Arm's not moaning when he hears a big word.
I know. There was the Bill Maher Bob Costas interview. I'm like a half hour in. There's so many big words. I'm thinking about going back And Costas will look for any excuse to throw a peripatetic for no reason whatsoever, knowing full well 99% of the audience doesn't know what it means.
Right, right.
There's Lily Rose, who can never stop being naked.
I need
or
that
at least
waist.
see through. I know.
God, their nipples are in full salute.
And Amber Heard's the one exploiting
trick is
herself,
done.
right?
I'm
Lily
gonna.
Rose. Go ahead.
Let me run this by you too. And this is. I'm so sorry. I'm all over the place because I don't know how long I'm gonna be here. I'm gonna do a Cribs episode and put it on Patreon, where I just film my dinky little apartment.
Oh, that's cool.
I'm gonna do that. I think.
I think
all right,
Camilla's
let's-
gonna steal the show. I think that
She'll be
cartoon
in it, of
cat-
course.
Is she camera shy?
No,
Well, she did the thing on with
she's a
Kathy Lee
model.
Gifford.
She's a
She put-
model.
she put the Kathy Lee Gifford thing on her IMDb, and I think you should definitely set one up. So this is an article on Lily Rose, which they're promoting Idol, and I can't wait to watch this in depth. No pun intended. Though Lily Rose has acted in several small films, some good, some less, The Idol feels like the first project she's done that could really appeal to a wide audience. At the very least, she's connected on set in a way she never has been before, making her better, more self-assured actress. I was gaining so much from just being present in the moment, even between takes or when they're changing the camera setup. Just watching our DP, I'm sorry, she knows what that is, set up these shots in the light, and gained so much from really having my eyes open. So what are they normally closed? I mean, they easily could be, right? She still get away with it. Acting across from Abel, who plays her love interest. That's the guy from that knockoff "Blinded by the Light" song, and was also a blessing.
The Weeknd.
Yes, that's it. Though this is the first time he's taken a break from pop stardom for a big acting role. He was a tremendous source of encouragement to Lily Rose while she let loose. Talk about trust and comfort. I had to go a lot of really vulnerable places to show. Abel was the best partner I could have ever had ever asked for. He has my back, and I have his, she says. I felt so free and so liberated and so empowered. So now you have this TV project where the star is a Nepo-Baby and a singer. So right off the bat, you're going, oh my God, like privilege is just, cronyism and nepotism come together in one fell swoop. And by the way, Depp is the biggest product of cronyism, and he'll be the first to admit it. Johnny Depp himself, Nicolas Cage got him into the business. He'll be the first one to own that. Go ahead, David. I'm sorry.
By the way, I love that they have this like super sultry picture of her and then open the next paragraph with the child.
Yeah.
I didn't even think of that. But then to cast like Depp with Amber Heard and all that time going how she's using her feminine wiles to get role. What the fuck is this? She's nude in the article. How is this okay? God damn. The child of an American actor Johnny Depp and French singer Vanessa Paradis. See, if I was ever going to do a hard-hitting interview with Depp, that'd be a big question I'd ask him.
Yeah,
and it would. I think I wouldn't be I mean, I would just try to ask it respectfully and see how.
Yeah.
Hopefully, he would
explain the
Lily
logic
Rose,
of this to me.
Yes. Lily Rose has certainly had plenty of practice in learning by osmosis. A lifetime spent observing her uber-talented parents and observing everything she could from them creatively. She also understood at a young age, in a way that the only children of very famous people do, the value in keeping your private life private. And her brother Jack beats her 1,000 times doing that. Try to find anything on Jack Depp these days. And she avoids controversy. Don't have an Instagram then, Toots. She avoids controversy by veering away from any discussion too specific about her mother and father. Oh, please, just own it. Just talk about them. Stop. Stop. You look ridiculous. Just talk about them. Give us everything. Stop. No one. And your mom. She does say, though, that growing up between Paris and LA, which we can all relate to, she has had the best kind of upbringing. My parents are artists, and I was always really encouraged to explore whatever I wanted to explore, she says. I've always loved putting on a show since I was a little girl. I used to dress up and dance around. So did Sara, as a matter of fact, right? Sarah,
I relate. I grew up between Gresham and Portland, It's right on par.
What's Gresham? What's Gresham?
Gresham is a suburb of Portland, basically.
Oh, okay. Is it a rich suburb?
No, not really. I mean, there are parts, of course, but
I love that city.
Yeah, you've been there, huh?
As you know, I mean, I've been there in 1989, 90, dreaming of playing power forward for the Trailblazers.
You were here like 2 weeks ago, stalking Lillard, looking for his house.
She had always harbored dreams of being an actress. Then at 14, I want to say before I forget too, David, your precious Cleveland gets such a bad rap. I'm going to say this again.
Yeah.
It is a very, I don't know if it's been gentrified. I've seen videos of that in the last 5 years. It is a good looking city. I don't know what people are talking about calling it some trash basket. What is that?
Well, I think that's a relic of like 25 years ago. I think that because the steel mill has left and it's not part of the Rust Belt has kind of, that's not what that city is anymore.
Right.
They've really invested in like tech. I mean, just like Pittsburgh or Detroit, like Detroit is trying to with tech jobs or culture stuff. Yeah, I mean, I've been gone from. Yeah. I mean, I've been gone from Cleveland for 15 years, and every time I come back, I'm like, oh God,
it looks cleaner than New York, I'll say. I saw videos of it like recently, and I'm going, what are they talking about? People eviscerate that city. It's so dumbfounded or unfounded. And I think it needs better PR in a major way. They shot Captain America Civil Winter Soldier there. You want to see how good looking Cleveland is? Watch that movie. It's
when the Browns win the Super Bowl next season, that will bring in a whole new look, idea about the city. Jimmy Haslam is going to redo that waterfront. It's going to be a beautiful metropolis on the water. And just, I promise you. And they're shipping me my ring already.
I'm going to raise my glass, Sarah. Here's to another 7 and 10 season and 8 months of hype.
We won the off season. Screw off. The off season is my Super Bowl.
Her childhood best friend is Harley Quinn Smith, which you can all relate to, right? Kevin Smith's daughter. Kevin Smith was filming a horror movie, Tusk, which featured Depp. I talk about it all the time. You'll see Yoga Hosers in our ending for this. Lily Rose singing while Depp is playing Guy Lapointe playing guitar with her, as you can all relate to. And in the opening scene, Jack Depp gives the middle finger in a cameo at a convenience store with his sister. I thought was cute and funny.
Is that a naked Kendall Jenner?
Oh, I don't know.
In between NBA stars?
I guess it is.
Is that in between Devin Booker and Jeremy Grant, who she's dating now, apparently?
She's holding an In-N-Out cup, too.
Yeah, that's means something for her. It's just...
I want to remake Richard Grieco's Booker with Devin Booker from Phoenix and see how that goes. I want to bring it back and see if it works on the NBA channel. Lily Rose was on set and pretty casually told to jump into a scene, which was enough to pique her curiosity for acting. I had so much fun that day, even though I had no clue what I was doing. She says, usually when you have no clue what you're doing, you'll star in a film, right? From Kevin's, usually
you have the confidence to do that.
I still sometimes feel like, you know, the story with Kevin Smith calling Depp, like texting him, it's fucking Lord Byron, man. And that's how that went down.
Do you think she had to change in the back of a bus like Amber Heard testified she did on her way from audition to audition?
Nice callback. Yes, that's exactly what she had to do. I still sometimes feel like I have no clue what I'm doing. At 15, she fully leapt into the public eye by embarking on a global ambassadorship. Another thing we can all regular girls can relate to. Global ambassadorship at 15 at Chanel, which I hate this, who her mom had worked with since the 90s. You know what pretentious is when you see mom. People love mom now. You can't say mom anymore.
Is this a British publication or a American?
I don't know because they say mum all the time in America now.
No,
like to sound more sophisticated. Yeah, totally.
Oh,
Depp says mum all the time. We did an interview with him.
Well, he's British.
I know. By way of Owensboro, Kentucky. Her mom had worked with since 1990s. I met Karl Lagerfeld and I met Karl Malone in 1989 for the first time when I was 8 with my mum. She remembers. He had an almost childlike quality. He wore sunglasses a lot, and he obviously had that iconic look. But when you looked at him in the eyes, he had this beautiful purity about him, and he was the most fun person to sit next to at dinner. Another thing I totally relate to. I've been there, Lily. I've been there. There she is again. See-through nude.
She's always braless.
I know.
Yeah.
Always.
The wrinkles will cover it.
She'll pay for that when she's my age.
Yeah.
When you're half French, you can always fall back on that when you do shit like that. It's a great alibi. Depp is charming and sweet, if endearingly jittery. presence and conversation, a contrast to the brashness of the idol role and the cool, sultry image she maintains in her Chanel campaigns. She's a fast talker who restlessly puffs on a vape and sometimes gets lost in her answers to questions. When I admit at one point as a
she's a
journalist,
Depp.
yeah, that's right. I always get nervous before interviewing someone for a story like this. She confesses that she gets just as nervous being the subject of those interviews. Can we be nervous together? She says. Well, you know why she's really nervous, right? The question of her parents is
right is
obsessing
looming.
over. The when's it coming? When is it coming? When is it coming?
Yeah.
She's got it's like almost like martial arts level sort of Krav Maga defenses about batting away
Avoidance.
questions about her dad. Yeah,
She's pretty in that picture.
she does. She looks good.
Yeah.
I haven't seen her make that face before.
When you
Looks
scroll
good.
down, it gets it sometimes is that so many other young people still does not fully realize her own power. Yeah, they spell realize with an S. You're right. She holds up
it's
an
a
old
British
issue of
publication.
Vogue with her mum on the cover, admitting lovingly that she almost can't believe how cool her mom is, and half joking that she can't live up to it. Whenever I see old photos of her, I'm like, ugh, that's what I look like in my dreams. She'll send me photos of her when she was younger and say things like, we're twins. And I'm like, no, you're so much more prettier than me. She's so beautiful. There she is again. See through. Look at this. Look at this. Like many sensitive souls, Lily Rose is plagued by imposter syndrome. Now that's where we're related. Now that's where we're kindred spirits. The idea that she doesn't. My imposter syndrome is I don't belong in Costco. Let's see what hers is. Costco's too good for me. That's my imposter syndrome. Seriously, that she doesn't deserve the opportunity she's been given. And like every true creative before her, she knows that the only way out of such anxiety is to wake up and dive in head first, putting the thoughts of the others out of your head. And even when you aren't feeling your best, faking it until you make it. You just have to jump in. And that's what I do at Costco. I fake it and I get through. And it's like I hold the card up and cover my face and I just fake it. I act like I've been there before in the end zone. You just have to jump in and have some kind of faith to it. If they've chosen me, then hopefully I've chosen it for some kind of a reason. That's all you got to do, she says. But by the same token, I think that there's nothing more exciting than being like, wow, I'm so nervous. I feel so challenged by this. How on earth am I going to pull this off? You could ask her for no better fuel to make you want to work really hard. Okay, I really don't want to fuck this up. So let me work as hard as I possibly can and make sure I have left no rock unturned. If you're not scared, then what's the point? I like fear a little bit. Let me go down to her criticism. She's aware that there's a discussion happening in pop culture at the moment about how children of very famous people, but she doesn't get too caught up in slings and arrows like that and tweets and clickbait. I'm so careful about these conversations now. I feel like my parents did the best job they possibly could at giving me the most normal childhood that they could. And obviously that still was not a normal childhood. I'm super aware of the fact my childhood did not look like everybody else's. She says, but at the same time, it's all that I know. And so I have had to find comfort in that somehow. I'm really lucky I've been surrounded by the people who value normalcy and who value real life. That's, I think what we just read is real life, right, to everybody.
Yeah,
and I think
right. Karl
the only
Lagerfeld.
way to and Chanel at 15. The way to exist in this world is to not go insane. Mostly at this moment, there's excitement of young woman starting to live up to her potential, coming ever closer to finding her place in the creative cosmos. She's off to film The Governess and Nosferatu, and hitting her groove in The Idol has been so satisfying that it's only inspired her to work even harder to approach future projects with as much intensity and openness. So she thinks that her auditioning for The Idol, she's worked for everything. Her parents have opened no doors. We've seen all that before. So this is oddly Brian Williams' daughter, Alison Williams, who was on that Sex and the City knockoff, right, Girls, and this is her comment.
With the beautiful Lena Dunham.
Gets all the men. Dunham. But you'll like this. This is a very, very candid commentary on Nepo-Baby dumb. And thank you, Ida Greenback, because I found this on Andy Cohen's show.
For Alison.
Hi, Alison. We'd love
Fair
your
use.
perspective on the recent Nepo-Baby conversation.
Why do you think other Nepo babies have such a hard time accepting or admitting their privilege?
Yeah, Nepo baby.
From the Nepo baby community,
Anderson is my favorite Nepo baby.
I'll just pause for a second. On the right is Mike Coulter who played Luke Cage in Marvel's Netflix series.
Can I express how much I loathe Watch What Happens Live?
Yeah,
Well,
I want to piggyback on that and say this show has been accused of, and I think it's true, of, you know, they have like people call in, but it's almost like a Howard situation. It's questions that the back office staff preps them with, because Andy Cohen's trying to get some, like, he's trying to give a jab to his guests, but he wants the caller to ask the sort of titillating questions so he doesn't have to.
That's what he does at the reunion
exactly
too.
Right. Yeah, exactly, David.
Right. I've been saying this for. Oh, I'm sorry. I've been saying this for a long time, that Andy Cohen is Howard if he felt comfortable coming out. He's the same instigating, shit starting, like, you know, like loves drama as long as he's not the center of it.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant.
I've been in the Watch What Happens loop because of this whole Vanderpump Rules scandal that I'm obsessed with. And yeah, that's exactly what it is. Every reunion, they will put out a call for questions for, you know, all the reality shows. And when they have a reunion, they'll say, "You got any questions for the ladies?" They don't ask any of the questions because everybody's like, "You guys like suck. You guys are horrible humans. You know, why do you act the way you do?" And it's all questions. Yeah, what you just said. It's all questions that like the producers and interns write up for Andy Cohen to ask.
Right.
That's so well said. He's also a huckster and a salesman. Like he's always got his name at the forefront. He'll always get the huge piece of everything. I told David and Sara this, I think this is like a few weeks ago, in order to attract fruit baskets and broads to the podcast, we were going to change this to Depps rules. It's just like somehow it was gonna, and what that conversation there was. David, if you had to ballpark it, what do you think Andy Cohen pulls in a year from all this shit his name is on?
More than
oh God,
it's crazy, right?
It's, you know, I mean, first of all, his talk show is not that highly rated, as are none of the late night shows, but it's also not on a network. And so I'm sure, like, if Colbert was paid maybe $6 million over 4 years, like, you know, I can't imagine Andy Cohen's breaking $1 million a year on this talk show.
Well, I'm talking about the producer status of all the house
right.
stuff.
So right, it's like he's the Byron Allen of Bravo.
Yeah, altogether.
Yeah, I mean he's probably worth. I don't want to say maybe $30 to $50 million. I don't know. I don't really know numbers.
No, that's fair. That's definitely fair. I mean, those shows do really well. He gets the biggest piece out of all of them. They don't pay these people shit. It's like, you know, even though The Real World from MTV started all this, they're the ones who really got screwed in this whole scenario. At least the housewife broads get paid, but a lot of them are rich going into it anyway. They don't even need the salary.
Well, and there's
dating all those twinks that he does is very expensive, so he's got to make something.
That's right.
There's a great clip, Sarah, I'm sure you've seen this, where it's one of the New York reunions, and he's like grilling Ramona Singer on, I think her husband cheated on her.
Yeah.
And Ramona comes back at him like, "Well, Andy, why don't we talk about your sex life?" And Andy's like, "Well, I'm not putting myself out on TV." And it's like, you so are. Like,
I like it. That's so Howard. You're right. You're right.
But the housewives are kind of like the back office staff on Stern, because they know not to, you know, shit where they eat. They know where their bread is buttered.
They're told what shows they can do, and they're not allowed to.
Well, and also not to go after Andy, because he's the one deciding maybe ultimately if you return to the show next season, you know.
Well, he says, if you look at a reunion, I know most of our audience doesn't, they don't care like I do, but when you watch the layout of a reunion, look at where everybody's seated. He says he has nothing to do with the seating, but if you're sitting, the closer you're sitting to him, the better chance you have of coming back next season. So if he doesn't like you, he moves you closer to the exit before he sends you through it.
Oh, my Bethany Frankel over here. Don't you think, though, LVP has some kind of sway that she could tell him off and not give a shit?
I don't think so.
You don't think?
I don't think so either. No.
Ah, okay.
I think she's happy to be there, so she's going to do what she's told.
I think that all of these women financially maybe don't need the show, but I think, like Beth Stern, they're such attention whores that they need the entree onto television.
Yeah, it's great to
Hey,
be
nice
rich,
use
but
of
you want to be famous when you get bored.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
hey, nice use of entree, David. I think that's the first time you dropped an entree on this, and hopefully not the last.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
I'm speaking for Kathy Scott. The Brave. I'm so glad you got it because we are going to do a watch along on Patreon with that. I've had that since the late '90s, and I don't know where my DVD copy of it is. I'd like to upgrade it to like 4K. That's watching The Brave in 4K. The premise of that movie is Depp plays, he's obsessed with his Indian heritage, and he plays a guy on an Indian reservation who agrees to do a snuff movie to save his family from poverty for $50,000. And Marlon Brando is the mysterious benefactor who's giving this movie.
Is he
And
naked?
is Depp naked?
Yeah.
He's got his shirt off a lot of the
Alright.
movies, and he plays soccer in a supermarket.
All right.
If my recollection of that goes, and I'm
Sounds
actually
good.
looking for because I haven't seen it in a really long time, so I'm looking forward to watching it. You'll see cameos galore. By the way, you'll love this, David.
He'll be
Co-writer
back
of
in a minute.
Oh, okay.
He stepped away for a second.
Co-writer of the script is DP Danny Depp.
Oh, of course.
Yes, yes.
Vanity credit.
Shot in, I believe, South Dakota. I
All
believe
right.
that
Hey,
was shot in
that's where I'm from, South Dakota. I am.
You know who's really from there?
I am.
Pat O'Brien.
No.
I swear to God. Hope you like the Dropkick Murphys is another one. That's right, Lauren Marie. The Dropkick Murphys is another one. These Irish kind of punk rock bands, and they're very big and they're very hip. Nepo-Baby, Jamie Lee Curtis. Thank you, Ida. That didn't, but yeah. So go ahead, Doug.
Oh, sorry. I was actually going to bring up Jamie Lee Curtis after you read that article, because she's someone who, like, when she did Halloween, I don't know if people knew she was Janet Leigh and Tony Curtis's child.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because Halloween was such a low budget thing that she probably just knew Deborah Hill and John Carpenter as, like, up and coming filmy people. And it's not a similar thing where Lily Rose is like trying to hide the fact that she has famous parents, where I feel like Jamie Lee Curtis has always kind of embraced it.
Yeah.
But not in a way that is cringy. I mean, she clearly loved her parents, and like there's some interviews with Janet Leigh and Jamie Lee Curtis together where they're just, it doesn't feel fake. It looks like their relationship is a genuine mom-daughter kind of thing,
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my Heather Langenkamp over here. Wes Craven said about Nightmare on Elm Street 1, which did phenomenally well at the box office. That is like the very definition of almost like, what's the movie again where they were running around with the flashlights, the horror movie from
Any of them?
God, what is it called, Sarah?
Any of them?
No, it's like from the early 2000s. It was really big. I just
Blair Witch Project.
Yes. Thank you, David. That made a Blair Witch-like profit. Nightmare on Elm Street 1.
Yeah.
Like no budget
It's
at
much
all.
better
It paid
than
them nothing.
Blair Witch.
But I know, but it's just, I mean, that's what you don't know how this is gonna. That's the ultimate payoff in movies, is to have something do 9 figures and you spent $50,000 on it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like Paranormal Activity or whatever.
Right.
I'll be controversial. I don't know if it is.
Welcome, Gretchen Evans. I want to say, God, sir.
Halloween is much better than Nightmare on Elm Street.
Not in my book.
Not
in my book.
You
not
need
even
to
close.
watch it again.
Not even close.
You need to
Not
watch it
even
again.
close.
It's scarier. It's just creepier. I love it. I love
How's
Halloween.
the acting?
Great. It's fine.
What is this, an orgy or something?
I think Halloween is moodier than, and I gravitate towards moodier. I think Nightmare on Elm Street actually has better pacing, probably, but I do agree that it's like creepy scares me more than just like the thriller thing.
That one scene where she looks out the window at night and he's across the street in the yard, just standing there staring at her.
Oh,
I'm done.
Yeah.
And the music,
Turn off the
the
TV.
music is better.
Yeah.
So as this goes on, so this is Alison Williams, Brian Williams' daughter, talking about Nepo-Babydom.
But he says he's not a Nepo baby because he would be if he was working in fashion.
Oh, I see.
Okay.
I see it as just like, were you born on home base or like third base? And I feel like I was born on third base.
Right.
And I think what people get tripped up
Yeah,
because
you
they
really
feel like people are
struggled.
coming for their skill. They're basically, the subtext is you're not good, you don't deserve what you have.
True.
And the truth is there will always be people who feel that way about me, 100%. Like I work really hard, whatever, but that doesn't mean that it's like fun. I'm not like an underdog. Like it's not fun to root for me.
I'm sorry, pause for a
I
second.
came into this with a
She's an actress or a broadcaster?
Brian,
Actress.
her dad's a broadcaster, you know that.
Okay, there is no way that she got to where she is naturally with that voice, that grammar, and using like every other 3 words. There's no way she didn't use her name to get anywhere. Oh,
No,
I
she's
was
admitting. No, she's admitting it. She's
I was
admitting
like
it.
born on third base. Okay.
She's admitting it though. Born on third base is not a compliment. She's admitting I have massive advantages because of my dad.
Okay.
She's not acting like an underdog. She's admitting.
Yes, she is.
I'm telling
some
you, she's
people are
not.
born on home plate. I was born on third base. You didn't struggle, sweetheart.
Go ahead, Debbie.
She's giving off Beth Stern energy with those hand gestures. By the way, that's like Beth
Look
in
at
an
the
interview
arms,
where,
too.
the arms, right? Yeah, the phenomenal wingspan of
Those are Adderall triceps, by the way.
Yeah.
They all have. But I give her a lot of credit. She's owning the Nepo-Baby stuff, and she's saying, "Yeah, I mean, that's what Lily Rose needs to
I
do."
think you're entranced by her
No, I'm not.
perceived
Stop.
beauty and all right.
Gunga did watch Platoon last night. Depp is in it more than I thought. How much did you think he was in it, Gunga Din? If you put it all together, it ain't more than 4-5 minutes. The big scene with Tom Berenger, where he speaks Vietnamese, and then he's in the scene, but where they're smoking pot, his platoon, and he's playing guitar. I think Tracks of My Tears. But as far as the total screen time, I can't be more than 5 minutes. But I'm glad he's in it more than you thought, because every time I watch it, it seems like it gets a little shorter. And there's deleted scenes with him as a great scene. I don't know why it was. I do know why it was taken out, because Oliver Stone was threatened by his charisma, because Charlie Sheen's based on Oliver Stone, where he's giving exposition about the platoon he's in, and he's telling you what the deal is with each guy. And I think that's very important to a movie like that. It is inexcusable cutting that out. Inexcusable. How are we supposed to feel for these people if we don't have any sense of background for them? Don't you want to know the backstory behind, the old cliche about the military is it's for minorities and poor white people, or defending rich old white men's land and money, which is very true in a lot of respects. People with no options going to fight a war for a guy that would never hire them in the first place.
Well,
and that was Oliver Stone's slant on it. And mine.
Right. So Depp's character is not really developed in terms of we learn about him before he showed up on I haven't seen the movie in a while.
Not at all. I mean, they barely say his name Lerner once, and we find out his first name is Gator. And I found that out way, way later. He is an interpreter, and he's supposed to be cerebral. He's supposed to be almost like a nerd type in the platoon, and he's kind of like doesn't really want. He's just as trepidatious as Charlie Sheen is.
Yeah.
In the movie, he doesn't really want to be there. He's sort of forced into it. He's from a poor family. It's Vietnam. He doesn't, and you never hear his backstory.
Yeah, that happens a lot. Like, again, we always talk about audio commentaries, but deleted scenes on DVDs were such a revelation to me, where it's like, why did they not keep this scene in? This makes me like this character more, or it gives it a context that makes the stakes higher or something like that. So yeah, it's interesting to have access to deleted scenes for that reason, because it maybe makes a movie that you liked even better, where it's like,
I think it should be mandatory to come out with a director's cut for every single movie, not just a few, every one of them. Take those deleted scenes and put them back in and re-release the entire movie. A lot of big movies do it, and it's always better for it. If you truly have a passion for the movie, you want it to be longer, and you'll buy the Blu-ray or whatever to see that. Like David said, so many times these scenes are 20 seconds or 30 seconds or
Yeah.
90 seconds. You go, why? Why take that out? It gave me exposition. And then they try to rationalize it with this tortured artist thing. And the director's comment, oh, well, we didn't want the audience to, we wanted them to kind of think about, we felt like taking it out was going to help move the story. Oh, fuck yourself. You took it out because of money. Shut up with your intellectual qualification. You know it was because of money. Whatever that even means. I don't even know how it costs more to throw 60 seconds more into a movie.
Yeah.
Why does it even cost anything?
Well, and it's all based on
stupid.
It's all based on director theory. Like I'm one of my favorite movies is The War of the Roses with Michael Douglas and Kathleen Turner. And on the DVD, like Danny DeVito, because he directed it, he explains before the deleted scenes, like a good comedy should be no more than 90 minutes, you know? And I'm just like, and then you watch some of the scenes and I'm like, oh, this is really funny. Like I wouldn't mind tolerating this in the actual run of the film, you know? So yeah, I agree.
They have all these built-in excuses so the bosses, the money people think highly of them. They don't want to bash the people who are fun of the like, because you know damn well why'd you shoot it then in the first place if you don't want it in? You kept it. You obviously put it on film. You took it out for money reasons, and they have all these built-in excuses for everything that's deleted, and it's always such horseshit. I never buy it.
And it's probably the marketing department telling them about like here's our stats on how movies with certain run times do at the box office versus, whatever.
By my count, go look at the top 30 movies in history of box office on Box Office Mojo.
Epics.
They're all 3-hour movies, you know.
Titanic, Gone with the Wind.
All of them. They're all 3 hours. So
Sound
that's
of Music.
But you're absolutely right. They do say that. And you are absolutely right. All the major money makers contradict that mightily. Ida said, yeah, that's another good point, Ida. Andy Cohen has 2 channels on Sirius too, David.
Yeah.
It's just endless revenue with that guy. He's in everything.
Yeah.
So let me put Bill Maher's commentary on the Nepo-Baby, and it is crazy if you listen to this show how similar his thoughts are to mine. It's as if he listens to this. And as pompous as that sounds, I found it eerie when I watched this. Because he brings up the sports thing with him. He literally, it's crazy. I sat there going, and I wasn't gonna even, and I have to get this. Jesus Christ. Where is it? I'm sorry.
Hey, Gare.
What's that, Sarah?
You sound like Artie calling him sick.
Let me.
I'm not gonna make it in today.
I'm gonna come back. All right.
I'm sorry.
By the way,
he'll be back.
Okay.
I don't know what he's doing.
I love that call, by the way. That voicemail from Artie is.
Oh, that's great. The greatest thing ever was that I have listened to probably way more than I should is the Artie saga. God, they called it something.
Oh,
Jesus.
Oh, the Bro saga.
No, it was from his very first call-in until he was canned, I think. His addiction saga, the addiction saga, the Artie addiction saga. That's what they called it.
Okay.
Somebody on the dark web made it, and it went gangbusters.
That's great.
I think, is this it? Hold on a second.
Artie faking a urine test or something.
Oh yeah, all of that was in it. It was great. It was like 8-9 hours.
That's not it.
No, what are you doing?
I'm looking for my Bill Maher clip, which I just made before. And you throw it all, Bill Maher, Nepo-Baby. What did I do? Sometimes you label it and you don't put it where it's supposed to be. And go ahead, David.
By the way, I'll vamp for you. I was thinking about you guys on Gunk covered. Who's the New York Post writer? Maureen, someone. Callahan. And she did her most recent article about Howard. You can tell that she listens to Gunk because I remember she used the words like parse through or something. And that's a Monique word, like.
I was thinking the same thing. There were like 50 clues in there that she listened to the show. Oddly enough, Johnny Bye-Bye's all the books he sent me. She wrote a. So it's like it's all Depp adjacent books. Did you know she wrote a book on Oasis?
Really?
Yeah. I'm looking. I see Maureen
How arbitrary.
Callahan. I'm like, what? And it turns out she wrote a book on Oasis called Champagne Supernova.
Wow.
It's like one of those fan books you find in the back of B. Dalton.
Maybe not though, Sarah. Maybe she did get a hold of them. And you're probably right but it's possible that she did get them. You know, writing it later in life, they're going to be all right. I'll.
Today's Deppening is so Irish. I love it. Perfect for for St. Patrick's Day.
That's a good point. I didn't realize that.
And I'll be making my Irish exit.
Very nice. The rapier wit of Miss Sara, sitcom wise ass.
That NyQuil does wonders on the brain.
Costas, where art thou? Here it is.
I mean, we can talk about this. You want over reffing, but what makes me up about what I love about sports is I feel like in a society that is increasingly full of bullshit.
Yeah,
it is the last place where I know I trust merit winning out which is kind of connected. Which is why I hate reffing mistakes so much. But it is the last place where merit will always win out. I have complete trust that with all the bullshit and corruption, those are the 12 best basketball players that team could find, or the 25 best, the best. There's no such thing as a Nepo-Baby in sports. There are certainly the scion of players, right?
Yes,
of course,
right.
But they had to be good.
If Bronny James can't play, he's not going to be in the NBA very long.
Dale Berra.
Right, Dale Berra, as opposed to Ken Griffey Jr., who was better than Ken Griffey Sr.
Right. Now, of course, if you
that's a Dale Berra reference, Sarah. You hear that?
No.
Oh, my Doug Drabeck over here.
Your father was a great player. You have advantages like DNA and the genes, and also you've been around the game. They were the bat boy or something, so they're not like, oh my gosh, I'm on a major league field. They grew up with it. All that is an advantage, but you still have to have the goods and the discipline and lots of other things. There are no Nepo babies, which is this term they have now for I'm agnostic on liking them. I don't dislike them. I just always want to say to them, just don't say you had to work harder, or it really wasn't an advantage, or once you get the job, you have to do the work. Most of show business is getting the job. So, okay, fuck Nepo babies. But
well, they can open the door for you, but eventually, if you've got the goods or not, is going to be exposed.
But opening the door is not that hard. I mean, opening the door is hard. The work is not that hard. Acting is not that hard. I could act right now. I could be mad at you, Bob. That was a little kid in there. Or I could be very upset.
All right, good enough. I got the idea. Now, how similar is that to my rants?
Yeah, that's your rant. Yeah.
He literally said merit-based. Now, I'm not totally claiming he listened to this show, but it's like exactly what I said. I couldn't agree more with that. And it's all based on Lily Rose started all this. Isn't it crazy where all this is going?
Yeah.
Oddly enough, Costas' son Keith works at the major as I think he's like the second in charge or something.
By the way, thank you, Hooper.
Thank you, Hooper. Yes, sir. Happy Patty's Day to you, sir. Happy Deprecon Day, as it were, to our show's purposes.
By the way, I urge the chat to go watch the 2 episodes of Murder, She Wrote that Bill Maher appears in, and tell me if you think he can act.
Is he really in that?
Yes.
Everyone was at one time.
Everyone was on Murder, She Wrote, yeah.
That's so crazy.
The love boat of the next generation,
totally,
the next decade.
Our next story. Okay, go ahead.
Oscar winner Jamie Lee Curtis was on a Love Boat episode. It's like everybody does that show. So.
I'm looking forward to watching those Bill Maher episodes. There's nothing funnier than watching him. He's got a lot of old sitcom stuff where he is dropped into everything.
He's on a Roseanne.
Oh, was he really?
He plays a boudoir photographer that takes naughty pictures of Roseanne.
That's the greatest ending shot ever, with Dan in like the male lingerie posing for Roseanne.
That's right.
That's another sitcom Clooney was on.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, he's on so much
Much
shit
longer than he was on Golden Girls.
He had a character.
Yeah. Booker
This
was
is
great.
this is a quick weird story I saw today, which is so bizarre. Rob Lowe wants to fight Johnny Depp. I swear to God. Rob Lowe wants to
Have
fight
to
Johnny
take
Depp.
off that NFL hat he wears on the sidelines.
Here he is.
Throw down.
Rob Lowe wants to fight many celebrities, including David Duchovney, that's makes two of us, and Stephen Williams too, and Johnny Depp.
Oh, shut up.
The West Wing and The X-Files, two of the most popular shows on TV in the late 90s and early 2000s, found their stars, Rob Lowe and David Duchovny, frequently fighting for viewers' attention. A couple decades later in Men's Health, Lowe revealed his idea for a different way to fight Duchovny, a pay-per-view boxing event. Lowe, who has been training in a boxing gym, says he's considered fighting various celebrities. One idea is Johnny Depp, because I just feel like I just might be able to beat him. And he says of the Pirates of the Caribbean star. And another is Matthew McConaughey. Finally, in real time, he realizes his perfect opponent is actually David Duchovny. As we interviewed him, he sent a text via voice dictation pitching Duchovny on the idea. Duchovny says, I have an idea that is either really inspired or really stupid. Take a minute to consider it. Oh, so he's texting Duchovny this. Is the world we choose? Go ahead, sir.
Since he's a pedo, I would like to see him and Gen Pop try to fight.
People forget that all. It's like the Matthew Broderick statute of limitations with killing two people, and it's always back to Ireland, right? He killed two people, and we should everyone tweet Matthew Broderick "Happy St. Patrick's Day" in honor of you killing two people in 1987.
He was a pedo at the right time.
Yes, and he got right. So he was 24, and he had sex with a 16-year-old in a hotel room
on video,
and that's on video. That's all. Apparently he tries to own it today. Is that true?
I don't know. I have his book. I have his autobiography I read years ago. I think he vaguely references it. And of course it's like, I didn't know she said she was 18.
Right. Of course. That's always the greatest Kumia rationalization behind it. Duchovny responds right away. Hey, you know what? Not in a world that I want to live in. I would not enjoy that, though I would agree it would make money. It's interesting. I think I would take the entire cast of The Outsiders at the same time. In fact, I know I can.
And Francis Ford Coppola.
And Coppola at the same time. Coppola is Nicolas Cage's uncle, and there'd be no Depp without him. Rob Lowe, did you know he went to high school with Holly Robinson in this Hollywood High, which is like the Penns went there, and Charlie Sheen and Emilio Estevez went there. This kind of reminds me of when Elon Musk challenged Depp to a fight. Remember when Mickey Rourke
that was great
on Twitter? I think I'm going to be the Mickey Rourke in this situation.
Yeah.
No matter
what. Just beat Rob Lowe with the saxophone. You'll be fine.
I will say this. Rob Lowe is in Youngblood. And isn't there a whole storyline where Patrick Swayze's teaching him how to fight? And
probably because he doesn't know how to fight.
But it's so bizarre. I got no traction at all. It came out a few days ago. It's such a weird. You want to just bring Depp's name up in any article, and you'll probably get some kind of traction.
Watch those Swayze moves in Roadhouse, and he could teach Tyson to fight.
Yeah.
Oh my! Here's Lauren Marie goes. I tried watching Mordecai today. Jesus Christ, that's so funny. She watched it today. I've never seen it before. I love Depp and Paltrow, but Jesus, I got through about 5 minutes so far. I'll try it again tomorrow. Ugh. It's like Mr. Bean meets Pink Panther. Ugh. Yes, Lauren.
Godspeed.
Meets Austin Powers. I felt there's an Austin Powers tinge in there as well.
I think I am the only person on the planet that couldn't stand Mr. Bean back in the HBO world. I avoided it. I don't find it funny at all. And the Pink Panther, no.
Don't like British humor. Some people don't. And Depp's whole, Paul Bettany relationship is
when I was in 10 years of marriage, that British humor was all we watched. Right. We watched Vicar of Dibley and Doctor Who and God, what's the Two Drunks? Absolutely Fabulous. Yeah. Oh my God. And it's my least favorite form of entertainment. I don't find it funny. I fall asleep. But I watched it over and over.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, Sarah, what was the first show again?
Vicar of Dibley.
Which Depp was on.
Guess who's it? Yes. How'd you know that, David?
I was gonna in my tour video, I was gonna put that clip in, and then the actress who plays the Vicar of Dibley, Dawn French, she talked on the Graham Norton show about kissing Johnny Depp, and she said that it's a long story, I won't get into it, but yeah, no, he was on, and it was for charity, so it's like He appeared on it because in Britain they do what's called like the Red Nose Day. I can't explain why, but it's like a telethon basically, and they'll do special episodes of famous sitcoms to raise money for a charity. So Johnny Depp appeared on that episode.
That's such an obtuse, circuitous way that you found that out. That's so bizarre. Like the way we find, I'm literally reading articles on him and looking at his IMDb every 5 minutes. You find it out by watching a Graham Norton interview.
Right,
which he's done. That's phenomenal that you retain that.
And also that it's about Dawn French kissing him, and now you've got this article about kissing Johnny Depp.
Did you know? You didn't know that I was going to do that, right? Yeah, this is a crazy. That segue is crazy.
Look at us. Look at us being a well-oiled
I know
machine.
you think this is fixed. This is very Vince McMahon of us. Hollywood is Y.68. Welcome, sir. Y. and Gunga didn't agree with you, Sarah. They like Halloween better than Nightmare on Elm Street 1. And you know why I like Nightmare on Elm. Let's face it. You really think I'm picking that if Depp's not in it?
Depp in a half shirt.
I remember talking to a friend of mine who was obsessed with horror movies, and he knew everything about every horror movie. It was psychotic, like just encyclopedic. And he must have been so. All I did was bring it back to Nightmare on Elm Street 1. No matter what he said, I would not get off. It was like the only horror movie I would see him just constantly opening up that Depp portal and just do. No matter where he went, I always brought it back to. It's the only horror movie that I know, like really well.
You love him in the half shirt, and you love you love the idea of flossing with his love trail.
Baseball bats and boogeyman. And I love when Nancy goes, when Heather Langenkamp goes, and what do? You little shit? You fall asleep?
I mean, listen, who wouldn't want Johnny Depp climbing up your trellis to come to your bedroom window?
Trellis. I learned trellis from this show.
That's
Thanks
right.
to David. She's excellent in Get Out. I agree, Lauren. I agree. Lauren is such a cinephile. She sees everything. She might be the biggest movie fan in our midst. I think it's not. She's bigger than me.
I think she watches them on road trips.
I think so too. While she's driving. So would you listen to a movie on audio while you were driving? Just if you liked it that much.
I've done similar, yeah.
Let me read this here. This is Depp as a kisser in Hollywood, and we have his. Is it Marion Cotillard or is it the T?
I think the L's are pronounced like a Y, so Cotillard.
That's it. That's how you say it. I can never get it down. I'm always. I need like a pronunciation key when I see her name. It's one of those things I've known her for years and I just always butcher the name.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I can say Giannis Antetokounmpo and I can't get that right. I'm glad it got so Keira Knightley had to beg Johnny Depp to kiss her after the Dark Knight star Marion Cotillard called him the best kisser in Hollywood by Ishida. The names just keep coming. Chatterjee. Johnny Depp went through a rough patch last year when he was embroiled in a drama with his ex-wife Amber Heard. But his fans supported him when he needed that backing the most. However, not just everyday people. Even famous Hollywood celebrities who worked with the actor are his fans. In fact, Marion Cotillard and Keira Knightley complimented the actor for being great kissers as well as a very protective man. Yeah, Public Enemy, she's his co-star in that, which I love. Public Enemy not everybody loves, but I love it. And Michael Mann, David, I think has an obsession with having his two co-stars never being in the same scenes. And I don't know what that's about because like it's eerie how similar Pacino and De Niro in Heat are to Bale and Depp in Public Enemies.
Well, you can only, as a director, you can only psychologically break down one powerhouse actor at a time. So if they're both in a scene together, how are you going to micromanage them?
I think most people would view Depp and Christian Bale as kind of the next generation of those two, like sort of just, I mean, they're both better chameleons than De Niro or Pacino, especially. De Niro's a better chameleon than Pacino is, but Depp is a chameleon unlike any of them. And Bale's good too. Bale's actually a phenomenal actor, in fact.
Johnny Depp has been, unlike Christian Bale, has been able to be successful in multiple decades with the standards of those decades.
Yes.
And he's a more interesting person than Robert De Niro or Al Pacino.
Depp's interesting too because he's exactly. Couldn't agree more.
I'm saying Depp is a more interesting person than those guys.
Totally. We couldn't do this on the two of them. We couldn't do this show on the Pacinoing. I think after a while we'd run out of gas. Or you don't know anything about him, personal life wise. His personal life isn't that fat, even though that his when I need a joke for the worst chemistry, I haven't seen chemistry that bad since Kobe Bryant and Dwight Howard. I haven't seen chemistry since Richard Belzer and Ice-T in Law and Order. I haven't seen chemistry that bad since Al Pacino dated Rose McGowan. Might be my favorite one. It's in the top 3. They were a couple. I swear to you. I swear to you. I swear to you. And with De Niro, you know more about his personal life now. But I think it's interesting too with Depp because he is thought of as being peers in terms of age with Generation X. He's not. He's born in 1963, and you bring his name up with like DiCaprio and Christian Bale. They're actually 10 years younger than he is. He's always brought up with those guys like they're the same age, and he's not. He's 10 years older than them. So he's in between that.
Right. And I wonder if that's because like DiCaprio, I don't know how soon onto the scene he got like Gilbert Grape. Like, is it that Depp had like the Jump Street era where it's like he's kind of working it out on television and doing Private Resort and all these movies, and maybe DiCaprio became successful or famous, quote, around the same time as Depp. So they're equated for that reason.
That's because so funny. He was on Growing Pains, right?
Oh yeah.
It was. That's interesting. A TV. Yeah, that's a great point by you. In fact, DiCaprio, if you ask Depp, he probably would rather have been in DiCaprio's movies early on, like This Boy's Life and stuff like that. That was, but that's a great comparison. It's funny to me because I find that DiCaprio's early work is way better than anything he does now.
Right.
I think playing Arnie and Gilbert Grape and This Boy's Life is way better than that.
Or what's that Meryl Streep movie he's in?
There's a movie that's like kind of a tongue-in-cheek thing with Jonah Hill. It's on like Netflix and there's 1,000 people in it.
No, this is a movie DiCaprio did in the 90s with Meryl Streep.
I can't remember.
Whatever. Anyway, but he's better because, like you always say, he's more convincing as a child, quote, or / teen, overly earnest person, not as a grown-up.
Kaula says he's actually in the Platoon documentary far more than he's in the movie. The documentary is great. Charlie Sheen produced it. It is great. It is so great. There's so many great stories out of that. And like I said, my favorite story is the Platoon house band with Kevin Dillon on drums, who went on to be in the Doors movie. Corey Glover from Living Colour, the lead singer, and Depp playing guitar. My favorite story is Depp pissing on or going to piss on Oliver Stone when they went out. He climbed up on this like scaffolding, I guess, at a bar, and Oliver Stone was such a prick that he was just like, he got drunk and he's like, see, if I were Amber Heard, I would have used that in the trial. Like, see what he does, right? I mean, is there anything worse than that? I think that's far. That totally lies in with they didn't do their homework.
See, the problem with Amber Heard is she did the homework on Johnny Depp to appeal to his Hunter S. Thompson interest. She didn't research the dirt on him that she could have used to retaliate.
Hooper, you're right. Friday the 13th is very scary. A lot of people like it. It's for a lot of people, it's their favorite.
I can't get into Friday the 13th.
Yeah, it's.
That's pretty Gunga Din. That's good. Lerner never stood up to Barnes like Elias did, as Willem Dafoe. That would be great if they wrote it like that. That he eventually did. Lerner did, because you can see he is resistant to the whole to Tom Berenger's methods. Kathleen Turner. This country's more fucked up than Kathleen Turner's accent, for Christ's sake. Yeah. Oh God, in Platoon, Ida Greenbacks. All right, where am I here? Okay, so I'm reading this. I've heard Marion Cotillard worked with Depp in a movie called Public Enemies, labeled him a good kisser. The actress recounted that he's the perfect on-screen lip locker and was also incredibly protective when the two had to shoot an intimate scene for the movie. She said, he's a very, very nice guy. I was nervous, but he was very protective of me. And if you really want to know, he is a very, very good kisser. In another interview, Cotillard said the actress complimented Depp that she's an actual real gentleman. She expressed, he saw right away that I was very nervous, and he reassured me that, and he was very nice. He has a huge respect for people and things. He's a real gentleman. He's an amazing actor. So I knew that when you work with an amazing actor, it makes you feel better if you work with someone who is totally out of it. Cotillard's words have always been respectful. Keira Knightley of Pirates of the Caribbean also had good things to say about the Hollywood star. Keira Knightley and Depps starred together in Pirates of the Caribbean films, Jack Sparrow and Elizabeth Swann. As per the reports, the actress once begged the actor in 2006 Pirates, which is the second one, Dead Man's Chest film, to let her kiss Depp, even though their characters weren't exactly romantically linked and involved in the franchise. She said, come on, just give me one kiss, please. As for whether it was worth it or not, the actress expressed, I'm glad I got it. It was really, really good. You know, there's a piece in I think it was Amber Heard's team had gone through. I think Tracy Jacobs was in on this too, and they basically said he had an affair with every chick he was with in every movie, and they actually threw Keira Knightley's name in there. And I don't know to this day like what's real and what's not. It was just that thing you do if you're in a movie with a chick and you're someone like Depp, you automatically had some kind of tryst with her.
Right.
But they made it like it was fact. And they threw in a paragraph of the who's who of anybody he's ever worked with, like right back to fucking Tracy Lords and Crybaby.
I think when you get to that level of stardom, that's part of the boilerplate marketing stuff to say that the two leads in the movie are having a real on-set romance, you know. Whether it's true or not, and I think actors come to expect it. I think they just expect this is part of what the marketing people are going to give to the tabloids, and we just have to kind of put up with it, you know.
We I know Sara and I both do, and I know that we love when you say boilerplate on this show. Please continue to say boilerplate over and over again. You couldn't deliver that more. One of my New Year's resolutions was I was going to say boilerplate more. Like I'll say cookie cutter a lot, and I should start saying boilerplate. I'm going to try.
We need to bring more kitchen utensils in as metaphors.
So to contradict this, and I think you two ladies know, you two Yentas, you two 90210 Yentas. I love that show, by the way. Know this broad, Garcelle Beauvais. Is that how you say it?
Yeah.
She is I knew her from initially she was in a bunch of movies in the 90s and stuff, and I think she was on the Jamie Foxx show, but I guess now she's on the Housewife show or
Beverly Hills, yeah.
Beverly Hills, yeah.
Is she like the biggest one on the
No.
Love that brown sugar. Anyway, and I've told this on the show a lot, but maybe people in chat haven't. Garcelle Beauvais had dated Depp in Miramar, but I believe she was underage. I'm trying to do the math. She's 3 years younger than Depp, and there's no way here's the thing. Here's where I will defend that. I think she lied to get into these clubs because you can't get into these clubs unless you're 18. So if she was illegal, she lied to get into these clubs. And any hot chick, especially back then in early 80s Florida, are they really going to say no to her in Miami? You know what I mean? Like there's no... You could do that. They do that now. Like young models can get anywhere they want because of. So I feel she had doing the math. Let's say this is 1980. Let's say this is 1981. She can't be more than he leaves Miramar to go to LA in 83. Right? That makes her 16, 17 when he leaves Miramar. This is before this. She's born in 66.
Okay.
I don't think he knows her age, and I think she snuck into this club. Now listen to this story.
Yeah. Allie Landry. Okay. Who was the first celebrity you ever dated? I went out with Johnny Depp before Johnny Depp became Johnny Depp. Really? Yes. I was in Miami, and I was at a club with a friend, and there was a guy that stared at me all night long, and I'm like, and my girlfriend's like, "Do you see this guy checking you out the whole night?" I'm like, "Yeah," but we just were having a good time. When we were about to leave, he came up to me and he said, "Hey, I'm in a band, and we're gonna do a music video, and I would love for you to, you know, to be in the music video."
Oh my God. That's
hot. And I said, okay, give me your number. We'll see. And then we talked a couple of times, and he was living with his sister and her 2 kids. And I remember I went to his house one time and he kissed me, and that, you know, that was it.
Oh my God. Okay, that's a good one. Hot.
Not a great kiss.
Jesus Christ.
No?
Paris Hilton.
Not a great kiss.
That's a good one. Hot.
Not a great kisser, though.
Oh. No? No? Oh, that's disappointing.
Go ahead.
Now, in all fairness to Depp, he's probably
He's
not
a
even
virgin.
20 years old.
Yeah.
Well, he claims he lost his virginity at 14, which is
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Yeah. But nevertheless, it doesn't mean you know how to kiss. Maybe kiss something else, the Deppelingus, but he doesn't know. So yeah, he's still gonna make. He's probably a bad kisser at that point in his defense. But again, you shouldn't have been in that club because she had to have been underage.
Right.
They didn't have sex, so there's no. You can't say stat rape
yeah.
during it. They didn't have sex, but she had to have been underage. Just doing the math, there's just no question.
Right. Was Paris Hilton on that podcast, by the way? Who's the woman who kept saying that?
It sounded like some stupid sound drop they thought was funny.
That's true.
It was Brooke Burke and Allie Landry.
So not much difference.
Not much difference. It's the same thing.
It's all the same woman.
G. Canada confuses Andy Dick and Andy Cohen all the time. That's where I sit next to him while they fly. She said, who'd you sit next to, Ida, on a flight to Italy? I'm guessing there's no way Andy Dick went to Italy. There's no way you can afford that. It had to be Andy Cohen. Don't you love Ida Greenbacks in first class with Andy Cohen?
Oh, I love that.
I can't believe he doesn't have a private jet by now. Right? You think
if that's who she's referring to, yeah. No, Garcelle, Ida said.
Oh, okay.
Her son. Her
son?
I guess.
Yes. No, Garcelle's son is wrapped up in this Vanderpump Rules scandal.
Oh, okay. God, it always goes back to that. No matter
You
what.
watched the episode, remember that waiter that Raquel and Lala were fighting over?
Because I thought he was going to bring up Depp to
Lala.
That he was because that's what I would do. How do they talk to him and not bring up his mom having a couple days with Depp in the early 80s? You always got to be on guard. For
they were too busy fighting over who could get the black guy.
I know. Pretty boy fight. David C. Rob Lowe versus Depp. I remember when I was on a high school road trip to a basketball game in Rocky Point, and these trips seemed like they were 3 hours, but they were actually 20 minutes or a half hour. And there's no cell phones, then. So this is like late 80s, early 90s, and one of my teammates is like, "Who's the guy on Fox? That Rob Lowe guy?" I'm like, "What?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He's like that cop show. I'm like, 21 Jump Street? Like, I just didn't know. I'm like, that's Johnny Depp. He's I thought it was Rob Lowe. Like, people didn't know who Depp was back then, and they're confusing him for whoever the pretty boy of the. And Rob Lowe's been around for a long time, but I remember he wasn't the only one to do this.
But also, Rob Lowe is not Johnny Depp famous. I mean, he's famous like David Hasselhoff is famous. He's not famous for being a great actor. He's famous for somehow keeping a career going for 35 years based on who he was in About Last Night with right.
And he was famous for a couple years for just having the worst Oscar skit in history.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Somehow he pulled a favor and got on The West Wing.
And the statutory rape as well was what he was known for a very long time. That was always lurking over him, looming, whether he wanted it to or not.
Yeah.
I think Duchovney probably. David C. Did you know Stephen Williams hates David Duchovney because he had the production of the X-Files moved from Canada and he put all his friends out of work. They were all 21 Jump Street production people, and Duchovney had the show moved to LA, and it pissed off. I cannot wait to talk to that guy. And Stephen Williams hates him to this day. Cheater. What's his wife's name again? His ex-wife's name again?
Tia Leone.
Tia Leone, right? His alibi. Yeah, the only one he'll fight is Tia Leone in court. He's a. Don't you feel sorry for him? Sex addict? Yeah. God damn it. God, David. I usually don't feel sorry for Hollywood celebrities, but having too many options and calling yourself a sex addict is,
right as a reasonably attractive former lifeguard at Fire Island.
Yeah. Was he really?
Yeah.
Duchovny was a Fire Island lifeguard.
He was.
Oh my God.
Most importantly, ruined one of the greatest Brad Pitt movies ever, California.
Oh shit, that's a Juliette Lewis.
With his brick wall performance that he plays in every movie, in every role.
And then got Californication.
Josh Foster goes, I actually like Youngblood too, Josh. I'm not, don't take that as a diss on the movie. I know I enjoyed it. I wouldn't mind watching it again. Speaking of hockey, did you know
I was thinking of watching that Youngblood too.
What? They did a second hockey movie on it?
Oh, you know what? I'm thinking of Young Guns. Ignore me.
It's okay.
Christ. I'm going to shrink away now. Bye.
Thinking about watching Mighty Ducks 2.
Same thing. Young Guns 3, basically.
Yeah, right.
Hooper says, Gungan says, I think Arm could probably take Webster in a fight. I think you mean Marvin Webster, right? The old Knicks backup center. Webster, my Webster Slaughter over here, Sarah. That was a Browns wide receiver. Why do I know the Browns wide receiver? And he lives in Cleveland, and you're the biggest Browns fan now. And why am I the one saying Webster Slaughter?
Because you are weird and you just throw names out. I don't know.
Ab Fab is one of my favorite.
I wish I could get in. I never could.
I do.
Lauren Marie.
I do love Ab Fab. So if Lauren Marie and I want to do an Ab Fab podcast,
yeah,
leave that for.
People do like that show.
Yeah.
I watched all of Mordecai, says Kaula, and it was a secondhand embarrassment till the end. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. This is my thing, Kaula. I think Depp is out of touch with the comedy. I always say that you have to know what's been done and what's been made in order to do what's next, to do what's unique. And when you brag about humble brag about not knowing what movies are being made, then you're not going to know what's repeating and what people are sick of.
Well, also, I don't find the Peter Sellers brand of comedy funny. I think it's just like it's like the Tracy Ullman, like we're just supposed to respect how talented they are, and therefore we're going to laugh.
Martin Short. Yep.
It's like they cross their eyes and I'm supposed to laugh.
No.
You have to have the je ne sais quoi with the talent. I find no matter how talented Tracy Ullman is and Martin Short is, the question is, does anybody give a shit? Yeah. Like you could do as many characters as you want. If people just don't care, I guess I feel sorry for you because it's just not you can't sell it anywhere. It doesn't matter. Unfortunately, that's like what Bill Maher and I said about sports. This talent is not necessarily everything in this business.
I was rewatching our 21 Jump Street. Just I had it on in the background of the America What a Town episode.
Yes.
And there's a joke at the top where Johnny Depp is like talking about how the insurance companies don't care if his car gets hit by like if he gets into a car accident and he's a young kid, so they don't care. Do you remember this monologue? He goes, okay. And there's this moment where he's like, and do they care? And it cuts to like the other characters.
Yeah.
And then it cuts to Depp and he's like, no, he like screams it, cuts back to them and they react. And it's like, that's horrible timing. Do it all in one shot so we can see him say no and see them react in the same camera shot, So just stuff like that.
I heard stories about that show that they couldn't. I'm not even sure where I heard it. I can never tell where I get. That it took them. They shot that so quickly that they refused to do second and third takes of stuff. So stuff like that, they would just power through because they had to. And I do understand, like, you're getting that out in a week. You're shooting, 45 when movies have months and months to get it perfect. That's why I think it's more impressive to do good TV. If they have that much pressure to get an episode out in a week. And I don't, obviously network TV is inferior to stuff you see on cable and basic cable because of the restrictions network TV has. So it's not fair to have something nominated it's much harder to do something edgy and great in network because you're such a production schedule that you've got to pump it out in a week.
Yeah, I mean, you have to find the lane that you're comfortable in where, like, I have composer friends that they're always trying to submit. I think I talked about this when you were talking about like the music that's used on reality shows. Like I have friends who write for those libraries where it's like, it's just instant money. It's always a flow of income, but it's hard to break out of that. And it is grueling and horrible and not artistically satisfying. My choice is I don't want to do that. I'm willing to wait and be patient and kind of build up to get movies because the schedules are much more reasonable and there's maybe a chance that it could be a little artistic. But the sacrifice is I have to be patient and kind of wait my turn. And you just have to pick your lane, There's always going to be a trade-off.
Especially with sitcoms. Well, even if something like The Sopranos, I used to hear stories about David Chase being so tortured, it would take him 3 years to come out with a season. And I'm going, okay, well, of course you're going to win an Emmy because you had 3 years to work on 10 episodes. Right. As brilliant as that show is, as much as I love it, it's not fair to have an award show where he's in the same category as a whatever, an ER that has to pump out the episode in a week. And it's the same time and it's the same. They should not be in the same category.
Well, and that's why the Oscars is getting lower and lower ratings because no one's seeing these, quote, important movies. They're seeing Top Gun Maverick and they're seeing, the Marvel movies and stuff. And they have no award show. Like what they should do is have like almost like a People's Choice section of the Oscars, because then you'd feel like the public is kind of represented in there.
Yes. Well, it's all. I mean, there's a pretentious formula they follow that they can only nominate blah 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 blah, and it's got to look like this. It's got to be this, right? Yeah. So if it's a superhero movie, say something brilliant like Captain America, Winter Soldier, or Civil War, it's like, okay, well, it's a superhero movie. We can't because they're so foo-foo and they're so highbrow to a ridiculously cartoonish degree that they can't admit that something is good or better.
They'll throw a popular movie in just to bring people in to watch.
Right.
Like the Elvis movie was nominated 8 times. It didn't win anything. It wasn't going to. Yeah. But they'll throw something in like that where, middle America will tune in now. No, they're not going to.
Well, the one time they shirked that rule is they got involved with Dark Knight because of Heath Ledger, and Christopher Nolan has this Oscar kind of ambiance to him, and they can still look cool and still look highbrow if you nominate something because Christopher Nolan was attached to it, and Heath Ledger is dead, so you do the posthumous thing, and it looks like noble. And Dark Knight has a lot of flaws. That's not a perfect superhero movie by any means. It's a piece of shit at the end. The climax is horrible. The fight scenes are as bad as I've ever seen. It's not perfect at all. It's got great stuff.
Died.
I know. You got a nice compliment here, David. Ida Greenbacks goes, David is amazing, winner of all trivia contests. And then G. Canada writes, yeah, it's crazy. Like whatever Arm doesn't know, David does, and vice versa.
For the relevant Bing Crosby information that we need on the show, I'm there for that.
Hooper, Secret Window. Hooper is it? Sarah loves Secret Window. Oh, yeah. See, that's one Sarah really knows well.
I saw it at the theater. I didn't love it.
Depp eating Doritos and Diet Mountain Dew in a cabin in Maine the whole time.
I would have made out with him mid Dorito chew in that movie, but it's not the greatest movie ever.
You know who directed that? David Koepp. David Koepp directed Mordecai, and he is the screenwriter of Spider-Man 1, the Sam Raimi movie. And he's got if you look at his IMDb, very, very interesting. Yeah, he's the director of Secret Window. Big Depp defender. He goes like this. I'll never forget it. He's like, so they're promoting Secret Window. I think he might have gone on ABC 2020 or one of those shows. And I think Diane Sawyer was interviewing him.
Yeah.
And David Kep was being interviewed, and he goes, you see? He goes, you see, I told you. He goes like, I've known Johnny Depp has been great for 10 years. You're just getting around to it now. You see? I told you he's great. You see? Like he was annoyed that it took people Pirates of the Caribbean to recognize him.
Right.
And I was too. And that's exactly how I felt. He gave you that. It was a very, very strong compliment.
I keep thinking about the story you told last time about going to a Geraldo taping and telling the gossip columnists they should report more on Johnny Depp.
Yeah, EJ Benz is like, hey, I agree with you. He goes, that's their fault. He pointed to everybody else writing about the British royalty. The American newspapers were obsessed with writing about the British, and I don't think people care about it as much as they think they do. I mean, I could be wrong, Sarah. You like that shit. You name your cat Camilla, for Christ's sake.
Well, yeah, Camilla's a great name. That's why.
It is a good name. Yeah. It's a very good name.
No one cares about Fergie.
No,
Well,
correct.
You know what I'm talking about, David? They write about all the time. They're obsessed
It was
with...
really, really, really big in the early 90s through Diana's death. Then it kind of faded away because the rest of them were boring.
Yeah.
But, I get it. I mean, I was raised with those Inquirers and reading all of the tabloids about them. I know more than I should. But I watched The Crown. I know what they're talking about in every episode.
What do you guys think? Cindy Lou, who wants to know what Amber Heard's doing right now. She has a sugar daddy in Dubai. That's not ridiculous, Cindy Lou. She always has that to fall back on.
She's dancing with my future husband on a movie set somewhere. Right?
I think, and I don't know. Yeah, I said we played it on here.
Yeah.
I think that, and I would love to see this. I don't care I don't care what Deptford Wives doesn't. You know they would watch it too. That's such bullshit. Here comes G Canada. For her to have a reality show, I would watch every second of it. Yes. Every second of it, and you know it would do well.
You report back to me because I won't.
You too. You will too.
I don't. I want her out of my life. I want her out of my life. I
will 6 weeks totally
with her.
watch it. I'm going to walk right into that trap. I'm going to totally watch it.
I'll definitely. I agree.
Good. And I can have that episode off where you guys review the reality show.
Perfect.
You don't think she's getting offers as we speak?
No, I'm sure she is, but they're more of the OnlyFans type offers.
Why are the Kardashians more noble than she is? I mean, they have a stupid, a dumb porn movie with Ray J and the OJ defender, and they get famous from that. Why are
nobody's defending the Kardashians?
They do all the time, but I'm saying, look at how big they are, right? Why can't? What would be the difference in giving?
I also think Amber came off as so unhinged in the trial that's perfect for reality television.
Yeah, she's actually more interesting than they are. As her daily, exactly right. As far as how the unhingingness, that's just exactly right, David. And I know Sarah would watch it. That's Cindy Clausen. Those of us born in 1963 are the youngest boomers and relate. That's so good,
That's
Cindy.
my mom.
Yeah, 1963 is a fascinating year. 64. Where do you even 65? Like, where do you go? Do you go to Gen X or do you go to Baby Boomer? Like, what do we? They need a new term.
Isn't it more boomer?
I don't know, Sarah. I don't know. It's like they're caught in some limbo. That age, and all those guys, it's like Depp and Tom Cruise and Keanu Reeves and Brad Pitt. Like,
I think I think Gen X is like the mid to late 80s, or 70s, or the early 70s at the most.
Are you Gen X, Sarah? It cuts off at.
I am barely Generation X.
Okay.
Yes.
Would you like to be, or what do you consider?
That's what I am technically.
David, what's before Baby Boomers?
Greatest Generation.
Greatest Generation.
That's you.
Yeah. No, I'm the silent generation of the Depression.
The Victorian era.
Yeah. Like my mom graduated high school in 1981, so any of the content of the mid 80s, like my mom actually, I told her like, I'm reviewing these Jump Street episodes, and she's like, I watched that show with your dad and we loved it. And
oh my God,
in
Chicago?
In Chicago, yeah.
Did they go to 21 Jump Street Day with Ida Greenback? in the Daily Plaza.
I think I think they were too busy raising me.
Hey, can we have your mom sit in on a watch along commentary?
Oh gosh, come on!
Wouldn't that be fun to have David's mom participate in something artistic like that?
By the way, Gen X was 65 to 80, so I was barely in it.
Okay,
but
so
I'm in it
1980 is
technically.
still. So if
Yep.
you're 64, you're cut off into baby boomer. It's really
Yeah.
not fair. That's bizarre. So my sister is Gen X and my brother-in-law is not, and it's like a year and a half between them. That's pretty interesting. They hums. Oh, hums when he kisses. That's right, Kathy Scott.
Where
That's right.
where he's kissing you where? That's very important.
When he's motorboating you.
No. Kathy Scott is quoting, I think, Kathy, correct me if I'm wrong, Winona Ryder at the MTV Awards when she came out with Adam Sandler.
She said that, yeah.
Oh, she said it later on. Okay.
Mhm.
No, I'm not that far back. I was right.
You
Jeez,
hang on everything she says. What are you talking about?
I do. Hollywood Vampires. That was right after the shoplifting thing when she did that. She did Mr. Deeds, which is the worst fucking movie.
Oh, God.
Adam Sandler is so. I mean, you talk about like a 12-year-old wrote that script. It's like I'm gonna be
awful.
a fireman and I'm going to inherit $1 billion and I can climb buildings and I'm a great athlete. It's like a 12-year-old wrote it.
And that movie's a remake of a movie from the 1930s.
That's right. That's right.
And he just made it horrible. And I think that movie was kind of a financial restitution movie for Winona Ryder.
Yep. And Sandler probably had a crush on her, and he would just cast like the hottest chick of the month right off the cover of Entertainment Weekly's. Oh, Salma Hayek's my wife. Right. In addition to he's this great athlete, he's a fireman, he inherited $1 billion.
Yeah.
His wife is the hottest chick of the month. He's like a 12-year-old wrote it. Not even that's an insult to 12-year-olds.
He really is like the king of queens of movies. Like, he's like the schlub who has like, these wives who are like a solid 7.5 or 8.
What was that piece of crap he did with Kevin Smith where they played gay guy?
Oh, I now pronounce you Chuck and Larry.
Right. Jessica Biel is in it.
I walked out of that movie.
Me too.
Horrible.
That's exactly where that might be worse than Mr. Deeds. I don't know.
Yeah, it's horrible.
So bad. I mean, to get away and to keep getting movies after that, and my cousin
has
said
photos of someone with something.
My cousin said he interviewed with Happy Madison Productions once.
Yeah,
and he said He said he couldn't believe how lowbrow the conversation was. Like he couldn't say and not saying that, I'm the smartest guy in the room. And he's like anything I said, he's like, I felt like it was, they want crap. And I just couldn't capitulate to what this was. He said it was the worst interview he's ever been on in terms of, you just couldn't dumb yourself down enough for that room.
Yeah. I never understood the appeal of Adam Sandler in the same way that I could, and they're very different, but the appeal of like Jim Carrey. Like, I don't think Jim Carrey's funny either, and I don't know. It's just that weird period in the 90s where it's like the either gross out or like super over the top physical comedy thing is the thing that sells,
There are times where, and I do think this about Robin Williams with Jim Carrey, who can be pretty brilliant. Him as Andy Kaufman in Man on the Moon is about as good a performance as I've ever seen
you're
an
right,
actor do of that decade. And I don't know if you've seen it. I'm just saying that movie, to see that's the guy at the peak of his powers, in my opinion, of what he is so good in that. If you haven't seen Man on the Moon, he should have won an Academy Award for it too.
Yeah. I'm just thinking of like Liar Liar and stuff.
Yeah. I know. But I don't think he's utilized properly. I think he has that Andy Kaufman. I think he has that Man on the Moon type acting prowess in him if he were utilized more in that way. And he's got some serious stuff.
The problem is when he did Man on the Moon, he turned into such an asshole off the set, or on the set, I should say. But when he wasn't on camera, that he treated everybody like garbage. He did a documentary about how he became so soaked up in that role that he lost his mind.
Right.
That's what they say, that with that method acting thing.
Right.
It takes a real skill to be able to turn that off You know, they I'm at the craft service table, and I feel it's always craft service, and I'm still pretending to be Andy Kaufman at the craft service table.
I also think the method is kind of bullshit, quite honestly. Like, you know, there's a famous story of Dustin Hoffman doing the movie Marathon Man in the 70s, and he's doing it with like Laurence Olivier or something. And,
yeah,
you know, he's supposed to be like out of breath and like sweaty and stuff. And so he like runs around the studio, like wasting everyone's time. And Laurence Olivier says to Dustin Hoffman, like, there's a reason it's called acting, young man. You know, it's like you don't really have to be in the mindset in your own person. Like, we have to make this seem like it's, you know, if we're paying you to just be yourself, like, that's ridiculous. You know, you're not these characters. You have to work. There's a craft to accessing them that doesn't involve actually being in the mindset of who you're playing. You know, there's a reason it's called playing, you know.
Dustin Hoffman is one of my kind of wishes that he didn't. He has a Me Too, and it's my biggest number one wish that if I could take one Me Too away, it would be him. And I don't know if I buy it necessarily, although who knows what went on. You know, what was considered, but I've never heard a bad word about him from people who've worked with him. You know, he was in Finding Neverland with Depp. And he does seem like a great guy. And I don't know from experience, but I have never heard a bad word about anyone who's worked with him. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. And I love, like, Tootsie is one of my favorite movies. I think it's just like, it's so tragically funny, and I think he's great in it. And,
David, I can't believe you said, but last time I was talking to Sara, I busted into this. Something's telling me it might be you all of my life.
Oh my god.
Is that Stephen Bishop who does that song?
I think so. I think that's Dave Grushin is the songwriter. He wrote the Goodbye Girl song too, like, 'cause let me tell you goodbye. You know, like, it's just so schlocky.
Yay. I'm not the only one with the clip.
Belting out. I love that. Love the pipes, David.
Thank you.
That's a sound drop, but that's a warning.
That's very much a sound drop.
I'll sing the whole song at some point.
J.I. Young wants to know from you guys: Hollywood Vampires versus Dog Star versus Bruno versus the Bacon Brothers. Who would you hire for your bar mitzvah?
I'd hire King Norris.
That's a great answer. Who would be best for a bar mitzvah out of these?
I want to see Alice Cooper singing at mine, so I will say
that might
vampires.
be the good answer. That might be the good answer. I think Depp would be most convivial to requests. I think he would be he'd be the opposite of the way Josh Brolin was towards David at his fucking wedding.
Oh, yeah.
And you people love Streisand. So that must have been terrifying for you to be performing in front of Babs.
Well,
right?
and I think I said to you, because I feel neutral about Barbra Streisand, but the thing I was afraid of is that she's a temperamental person, and if I wasn't pitch perfect for her granddaughter's wedding, that I would have a glass of wine thrown in my face.
You should have broke her balls and just go, Barbara, do you want us to perform on your right side or your left side?
Do you want me to spray paint my cello ivory because that's in your color schemes this month?
That is horrible. Does Josh Brolin realize where he was before? And should David remind everybody on that microphone about your Diane Lane domestic abuse that you were proven to be true, and now Depp's the one on trial? Sara loves Diane Lane, her scissoring partner, for Christ's sake.
I should have the Elliott Smith song that we were playing at the wedding. I should have written parody lyrics that like bring that incident up and like sang it as I was playing the fella.
That'd be the best. That would be the best. Depp was Josh Brolin was the second choice for Officer Hansen, and apparently they had a friendship. But Depp is friends with a lot more people back in those mid '80s. Late 80s days than you realize. Brolin was in. Go.
Josh Brolin, another Nepo-Baby.
Totally. Why doesn't he get brought up for? Right? Totally insane Nepo-Baby.
Yeah.
And yet he just gets a little weird pass. Like some of these people, just like like Michael Douglas, right? Is a Nepo-Baby. He passed his dad, but yet because like there's a statute of limitations for some of these he never gets called out on it, or it's more noble to be Michael Douglas.
Well, and it's also like I look at someone like Danny DeVito, who was, I think, roommates in college with Michael Douglas.
Yes.
And then does a, there's this famous story about Danny DeVito auditioning for Taxi, and he just like insulted the James L. Brooks and whoever he was auditioning for, like, this script is horrible, and they loved that he was so honest or something. But I was like, did your Michael Douglas relationship play into you getting into show business? Like, that's a charming story.
Anybody else tried doing that on a major sitcom on network and see where that gets you? Try that move.
Like that's a charming story, but like, what's the context? Like, were you already, because Danny DeVito is in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, which Michael Douglas produced.
Yes.
And so he's already been kind of ushered in before Taxi was even on the air.
You did the soundtrack on that, right?
Yeah, I did.
That was filmed down the street, by the way, from where I live.
Was it really?
Mm-hmm.
What was it an actual mental institution?
Yes.
Or what was the name of the mental institution?
It's just the Salem. I think it's just this Oregon State hospital. I think that's what it's called.
Okay.
It's just a very generic name. I know, but it's one of the. It used to be one of the creepiest buildings in existence. But they had to tear it down and rebuild it because it was so creepy looking.
Did Geraldo responsible for that?
Yes, he was down in the basement.
Looking for Al Capone's gold or whatever.
Well, he had that Willowbrook expose he did where he exposed the mentalists for abusing the...
right.
I never saw that. I don't know. Come out in the 70s or something.
It's on YouTube, I think.
Oh, it's on YouTube. Cindy Lou Who, it's Garcelle Beauvais. Thank you, Cindy. Yes, Beauvais. That's how you say it? Garcelle Beauvais.
I don't know. I know Garcelle.
Ida Greenback says she's very well liked on these shows. Is that true?
She's one of the good guys.
I like Cindy doing the proper dictionary formatting for the pronunciation guide. Like,
I know.
In all caps.
There's a lot of tough pronunciations on this particular show. It really is. Because that's as close as ARM comes to using kitchen utensils between triple Whoppers, Walmart fried chicken, pizza from Costco hot dogs. You
should hear what he cooks. I hear about it all the time.
What was the last?
The whole involved recipe every night.
My next aspiration is honestly shepherd's pie. I'm going to give that a whirl in the next couple of weeks.
Well, you made bagels again yesterday.
I did make bagels.
Or the other day. I don't remember when I got
them. They come
that.
out a little bit better each time I do it.
Yeah.
I just, how you need the repetition. You really do.
Oh, yeah.
Lucky Garcelle. Is she very well liked on this? The world needs more
Beverly
Olivers,
Hills
by the way.
has the most vomitous group of women, so they make her look good.
Yeah, that's true. If everybody else around you is hideous, you're gonna look, and you're just okay.
I'm not talking about physically. I'm talking about
just personality wise.
Yeah, you've got women who were part of fraud rings.
Yeah, right.
And you got Kyle Richards, and you've got Lisa Rinna.
Lisa Rinna's the worst. Yeah,
she's horrifying.
Yeah,
they've had to fire her because she's so horrifying.
If you guys ever do a Housewives watch along, you gotta have Ida Greenbacks on and ask her.
Oh, that would be fun.
Yeah, about Garcelle. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, there's recent. I saw like some fashion show in New York, but Lisa Rinna made an appearance, and her hairstyle was horrible. Like her whatever wig she had on that day, she had like almost like like she was living in a monastery. It was like a bowl cut.
Oh yeah, I did see that.
Right, and her face is horrible. Yeah,
it's that like, lip implant. Take it out.
Hey, Hooper, that's a good callback. Rob Lowe was good in Austin Powers. He played Robert Wagner, like a young Robert Wagner. He did like a Robert Wagner impression. I think that's what he did, right? That was
sorry.
Much the extent of his role.
Was I not muted?
I don't know. That cough is cute, Sarah.
Oh, Jesus. I'm so sorry. I didn't hit the mute button in time.
Yes, Brendan. Dr. Death, Stephen Williams, the wrestler. not the actor. That's who was in 21 Jump Street as the captain. I don't know if you know that. That's such an obscure wrestling reference. Howard should have the Oscar for Best Actor in Private Parts.
He was nominated for a Razzie.
He certainly was. He can't even act like a good husband or good parent.
I think he was beat out by the anaconda in Anaconda. I'm not kidding.
Did I tell you I met Eric Stoltz one time on the street? And at the corner of 6th Avenue and 14th Street. So I stop at a light and I see the red hair. And I'm like, oh my God, it's fucking Eric Stoltz. I'm like, what do I say? I'm just trying to think. Like, you try to think on your feet when you see it. And I just leave him alone. Nah, fuck that. So I stop and we're both waiting for the light to cross. And I turn and go, Eric, I go, what's going on? I go, you got to be, that anaconda stretched around. He's got to be, he's like, hey, he goes, I got 40 films under my belt, and that's what you bring up, Anaconda.
Arm, I just picture you like every time you see a famous person, you're going through your Depp Rolodex, like what Depp connection?
I couldn't. Yeah, there's no way to connect him to anything. Well, I could have done the Mary Stuart Masterson and was it Some Kind of Wonderful, and then Depp and Benny and June. But he's never been with him, so there was no way to do that. I didn't think of it though. I didn't.
You know how boring he is.
I know. It's just so true. Does it get any more boring than Eric Stoltz?
It's like I watched every 80s movie around that era. In that era, that's the one I don't care about because he's so boring. And even in Mask, I can't. He's so boring.
What no directors ever said? I'm going to bring in Eric Stoltz to punch this movie up, but just what this needs.
Thank God for Cher.
Something's missing.
You know what's
my Rocky Dennis over here.
You know what's going to save this movie? Randy Quaid. No one's ever said that.
He had Stoltz did. He had a huge in the 80s. He was in major. And Sarah's right. Like, what caused them to go? Yes, this is my lead. He is going to this guy with no personality who mumbles and can't smile.
I was just gonna say, even the delivery is like, yeah, I love you. I really.
He's Andrew Shue like projection, right?
Yeah. I love your short little blonde haircut. You're really cute.
G Canada said he used the sex addict excuse on his wife and he got away with it. I want to welcome our Nubian princess, Crazy Robin. We were just talking about you and Garcelle Beauvais. I get a Crazy Robin vibe off Garcelle, don't you? In some way, a little bit.
I don't know.
If you had to picture Crazy, I feel like the personality is very.
All black people are not the same.
I didn't say they were. I said she's an exceptional Nubian princess. I
want to do my next tour video with Robin because I feel like Robin knows more LA because she's a native of Los Angeles. Like knows
LBC.
More of the right. Yeah.
I want to know more about Long Beach. I want to know about Russell Westbrook in his days.
Oh my God.
In Long Beach. I really do. There's a Long Beach, Long Island, but I want to know about the California Long Beach because I believe it is very badass. And I mean that in the best possible way. Would you like to do what's next here? Would you?
I don't know. Let's get to something.
Okay. Crazy Days and Nights. We are going to the 27-minute mark, and that's almost done. So here we go.
Are we going to finish at this episode?
Hey, everybody.
No, I'm going to sit here until it's done. 5 parts is enough.
Hi. Here we go.
Hello.
I go back and forth. I hope that they do.
I did not stop it there on purpose. I just went to the spot we're supposed to be at, and no matter where you go, you just hear.
He's Satan.
That's what happens when you record under a down comforter.
Which is it that they just won't put their big foot down is basically what I'm hoping. Because I think that there are enough people. Like I said with my scenario, if it was anybody but Johnny Depp, he would have been questioned by the police for days. Well, not days, but hours. And all those other partners and everything. And you would by just telling you the facts and no names, you would think that one of those people is the murderer. So, we need to find that out. And there's a lot more scientific evidence and everything now.
Sarah, Crazy Robin brings up Harvey Weinstein here, and she's right. He is such a lock on the Oscars. That Miramax stamp on everything was just
He had a lot of power.
Rocket ship to the. That's right. And so a lot of those broads, where I do think he's a lecherous creep in the bottom,
Yes.
but a lot of those broads definitely were complicit to the casting couch and knew. Not
Many
all
knew
of them, but some of them.
Many knew why they were going upstairs.
Yep, they want the Miramax stamp. Absolutely. But I hope. Do you remember? Does this guy bring up Weinstein at all, and Depp's friendship with him?
I don't know.
Because I can't believe they don't go there a little more. Just regardless of what, because Finding Neverland is a wine. Actually, City of Lies is a Miramax movie. Did you know that? A lot of people don't realize that. That's the last time they were affiliated.
Then there was in 2003. You're telling me like the 2002, the briefcase where the gun came out. Was there anybody else's DNA on that briefcase or in the briefcase where the gun was? What about in the truck? They found the truck. Was it wiped down?
No.
And the thing is, Disney has made it extremely difficult to find out anything that goes on in the case. Anytime a website kind of pops up, they try and shut it down. There's only a couple that really have any information at all. And one of them, like the last information is probably 5 or 6 years old. No updates or anything like that. So maybe they leave up the ones that, there's a little something there. But I really do think that now would be a great time for the police to sit down with Johnny and whoever else and get some answers on the record. I think, 2019 is going to finally see Anthony Fox's killer brought to justice.
How'd that go?
And that
this is 2019 and in and around, and it's about the best time to pile on to Depp. Like this is the worst. He's at his lowest. That article that Roderick did is just before this. This is I think public sentiment might have been at its apex right here. So this is what gives this guy's the cojones to go this far.
You intro this, even though we're on part 5 of this series. Intro who this is.
This is right. Thank you, Sarah. This is Crazy Days and Nights gossip head NT, who releases all the gossip you see with the blind items, where he writes. A lot of it turns out to be true. Some of it's bullshit. You just got to find out which is what. And he releases a story, and what does he do? 3 days later, he releases who it's about, and he writes a lot of this A-list actor, blah, 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 this B-list, mostly actor, and then he writes a gossip story, and then it's like a fun game we play where we have to guess who it's about, and then he'll reveal who it's about. What is it, a week later or 3 days? Sometimes.
But this is taken from a 2-part podcast that he did on just Johnny Depp.
3 parts.
Oh God. How far are we?
We're about on 3. We're almost on 3.
Okay.
By the way, is he implying that the Walt Disney Company is not transparent and only cares about their branding?
Well, I say this all the time. If Pirates 5 made Avengers Endgame money, do you really think they would fire him?
Yeah.
It's all about money. They're not. You think they have any ethics at all? You think they care about domestic abuse or abuse of any kind? They're about green. If Pirates 5 made $1.6 billion, they wouldn't have done shit, and that's true.
They can make anything go away. People are still going to go to those theme parks, and they're still going to go to those movies.
65, Kathy's 35 is the new 65 is the new 35. And I mean that. I can't believe sometimes. Who did I see the other day that was 65? I couldn't believe it. Jeez. Isn't Kevin Bacon is 65? Isn't that crazy?
That sounds right. Yeah.
Kevin Bacon is 65. I swear to God. Born in 1958.
Johnny Depp will be seen to have known way more than he has ever said.
Thank you, Crazy Robin. Agreed.
Yeah.
Now, you might be wondering why I kind of keep bringing up Disney and all of this. Well, with the dog.
Crazy Robin, that is an ultimate compliment to Sarah. I agree with you. I love hearing Sarah's voice. It makes me happy. Does it get any better than that, Sarah? A lot of people say that
Yes.
about your voice too. Like you should be doing books on tape or voice. You
Very
sound like
soothing.
Barbara Gordon. I'd cast you as Barbara Gordon
No, it's okay.
in a second. I would. Oracle. How about Oracle?
No,
You don't want that role?
no.
How about Natalie Maines?
I don't know. Let's get to the role of getting
How
to
about-
part 2. Come on.
How about Liz Cheney, the animated series?
All right, let's get some of this done.
Daughter eventually taking over for her dad in the trial. So what would have happened? Probably the dad's estate would have had to do it, and then somebody acting for the daughter as the executor or something like that would have stepped in. But it took a couple extra years. So like they were going to go to trial in January 2002. So what happened between 2002 and 2004? Well, in 2002, at the end of it, Johnny starts filming Pirates of the Caribbean, the first one. So...
Yeah, thank you, Crazy Rabbit. I should say, too, there'd be no Living Color if it wasn't for 21 Jump Street. And Jim Carrey was great in Living Color. And he was whatever the opposite of the Uncle Tom thing is. He was, I guess, white token on Living, but great. And they needed that. And he was brilliant on that. But there would be no Living Color without 21 Jump Street. That's a great reference by you. I missed that show, too. I want to go back and binge watch some of those.
That movie did pretty well. Now, let's go back a little bit. But so you have this trial, and not only did Johnny have to pay her back from what had been taken, he also had to give her his entire share of the club.
Welcome midlife crisis.
And this timing of all of this is interesting. Because the transfer and all the money all changed hands right after Pirates became a monster hit. Not before. It was after. We're talking now 2004, and Pirates came out in 2003.
Now he knows his dates. That's impressive.
So Disney wanted to lock Johnny up for a couple of sequels and didn't want him associated with a murder. And let's face it, they would have. They would have at some point said, "Oh my goodness,
Midlife crisis is Jim Carrey.
Captain Sparrow's a murderer in real life."
I speak for all
Or
Canadians.
at least knows he was murdered or why. And you know Disney doesn't like that kind of stuff.
most production
That's not
companies
who they
do.
are.
Yeah, right.
There's snuff movies. Disney's going to be snuff
So
movies after.
Disney did this deal.
Unlike those heathens at Paramount.
And made everyone, including the daughter, sign NDAs. Now, it's basically why our only hope is for the police to get involved. Because if they come and get involved,
Daniel Day-Lewis, Depp is
then
a
they
lot of
can
him.
kind of, the NDAs don't really apply.
If he could be leading,
Because we're talking about a criminal investigation. You can talk. I would like to hear what the daughter has to say. It's actually a lot of people I want Johnny.
Sarah, was Anthony Fox's daughter paid off in some way? What was it? Was there some
Depp gave her
money
his
screw-
share of the club.
And did she sold it, so she got
the money out of that.
She got them. I wonder what. Yeah. And that knowing Depp, it sounds like his generosity. But it's I don't know what exactly it was sold for. And Sal Janko certainly made off. And by that I mean Bernie Truman Show, Internal Spotless. Yes, very good movies.
Oh,
Cindy
yeah.
Lou, I agree.
I want to hear the daughter. I want to hear the partners. We're going to trace it out to the mafia.
Thanks.
And you know how we're going to... The thing is, the club is back in the mafia's hands, kind of. The daughter sold it. And one of the people that bought it kind of has some mafia ties through his partners in Vegas, one of whom is completely mobbed up and got in trouble with the feds. And until very, 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 very recently, Was married to a former naked celebrity turned reality star who's a very good friend of mine.
Wait. Can we get that? Reality star is a very good friend of mine. I mean, that could mean there's a million reality shows now. How do you break it down to?
Yeah.
God, I'm gonna see. Maybe he goes further into it. Yeah. You want to sing "Time Might Let" from Dirty Dancing soundtrack, David? The Bill, what is it? Bill Medley and Jesus, what's the broad's name again? We could do that. I'll tell you something.
I only know the chorus.
Jennifer, right? I forget her last name. This could be Jennifer Grey. We got to do it because Depp's ex-girlfriend.
So it's all kind of coming full circle. You know, the mafia kind of has their little fingers in it now. Do they have the silent partners full on into it?
Howard.
No.
This guy listened to you, Arm.
They have a couple fingers and some toes in it.
Diane Lane and the Outside are super. That's right.
So again, nobody from the outside is going to say anything. The daughter really can't.
50 Odd Foot of
I do kind of
Bloods is
wonder
a good one.
what the daughter
Russell
would
Crowe.
know from back then because she was 14 years old.
Is that the name of this podcast we're listening to?
You know, so obviously now she's 30 or about to be 30.
Barbara Streisand's nails are distracting. I agree.
Has somebody ever talked to her about it? And I'm sure that NDA is pretty serious because, let's face it, nobody wants to screw around with $1 billion franchise per installment.
Kiefer Sutherland and Donald.
So Disney's going to make those penalties pretty darn high.
Who doesn't love Diane Lane?
Start talking about it.
Cindy Lou Who.
Now, if you thought that Johnny was pretty insufferable for pirates, he became 10 times, 100 times worse after. The drinking, the excuses, they all multiplied. The violence multiplied. The temper. Why is that there's so many angry drunks? It seems like all we do is...
Speaking of angry drunks, yes, Josh Brolin was an angry drunk. I had a greenbacks. And yes, that was part of the Diane Lane thing. And then he was Mr. Sober. Imagine throwing a wedding of the magnitude that they did and trying to afford a talent like David, and you can't drink at your own wedding. Could you possibly imagine spending those kind of greenbacks? You can't even have an arm gria during that whole thing. What a waste. Why even have the wedding at that point? Right?
I had to drive 3.5 hours to play for a total of 3 minutes for that wedding.
How many hours? 3.5?
3.5 hours up the coast. I mean, you know, I got paid accordingly for it, but it was bizarre to me that you wouldn't keep us there for the cocktail hour is the other thing. Like, you know.
Could you imagine Depstein Island at that wedding that you wouldn't, they would have you, he would be on stage playing with you. I guarantee
yeah, I agree.
And you'd be able to drink and you'd stay there as long as you want.
Yeah.
He'd probably leave the place and let you stay there. Who's not more trustworthy than David? And that's the difference between a Depp and a Josh Brolin, by the way.
Totally.
Talk about the angry drunks. You know, everybody needs to be a happy drunk
Crazy
like
Robin.
me.
Yes. Garcelle, that's where I knew her from.
I'm always a happy drunk.
Simon
Unless you give me a lot of red wine. I don't know. If I have like red wine on an empty stomach, then I don't get, you know, angry or violent or anything like that.
You just start getting monotone and mumble and inarticulate is what you get. I'd rather get someone angry who I can understand speaking, who can enunciate. That's what I would rather have.
Yeah.
Geez, I'm obsessed with Josh Foster and Simon Rex. His obsession with Simon Rex is fascinating to me.
And I don't know why. So I try and stay away from the wine. So if you ever see me and I'm drinking the red wine, just stay away.
No.
With cocktails, I'm fine. I am the happiest drunk. You come on my Twitter feed at 1 o'clock in the morning on a weekend or something like that.
That's right.
It's full of love.
Eric Stoltz was the third choice for Back to the Future. That's right. Good life crisis. That's good. That's true.
Back to the boring.
Imagine Michael J. Fox on the height of his snappy one-liner on Family Ties and totally beloved, or Eric Stoltz. Who you get? What a horrible decision they made taking Michael J. Fox. A June 9th baby, I might add. Same birthday as Depp.
You know, just like It's fun. But it seems like all we do on this podcast is we just
Pulp
find the
Fiction.
angry drunks. I need to
That's
find
right.
some happy
Stultz is in
drunks.
Pulp Fiction. Stultz fiction.
But
Crazy.
several times during Pirates and the sequels, Johnny had to quietly leave and go to rehab. Now the thing is that there were so many parts to the production that it was pretty easy for him to step away for a bit. But still, the fact that Disney must have not loved that. And so then I think that contributes a whole lot to now him being fired, because there's been a gap, right, between the Pirates movies. And they were like, oh, it was pretty bad before. But think about how much worse it is now than in 2003. Mostly it was just drinking and some party drugs. But now, he's just full on get off my lawn.
Cal, in one syllable, Cal is like, oh, this man again. Time to go. We'll try to punch it up, Cal.
Isn't
can't let him go too long.
Isn't "Get Off My Lawn" a Stuttering John song on the Atlantic Records album he had in the 90s?
Oh, isn't it? That is, isn't it?
I'm pretty sure it is.
That's a great call by you. I got to look at the titles of those tracks on that.
Angry, angry man who gets violent. Now, does Disney want to take a chance with that? Especially with this gap in the thing? Or do we just go ahead and replace him? We'll still leave him on the Disney ride, but let's get him out of the movie.
Yeah, I had a real quick. Depp, AJ Benza claims, I would love to get him on here to talk about this. I'm kind of friends with him. Not to brag.
Name dropper.
What a brag.
Zone. He claims that his book, Fame Ain't It a Bitch, that Weinstein wanted Depp to play him in a movie about Benza. I swear to God. And he says it. He actually writes it in his book at the end of the book. I had his book. I don't know what I did with it. I'm sure Johnny Bye-Bye will have it in a file in 5 minutes. But he does say this at the end of the book. He's friends with Mickey Rourke, too, Benza is, who's Depp's friend.
Because I think that's pretty much what they're thinking. There was a lot of times that he was drunk at work,
sorry, Kathy.
drunk while filming.
So Kathy is Generation X, born in 60. She's not 65. She was born in 65. She is just making Generation X, and thank God.
He's been drunk so many times on television. It's on live television. There's too many to mention, but one that stands kind of out to me is the 2014 Hollywood Film Awards. He was blasted.
Going through puberty.
And he had to give an award for best.
So this is the Shep Gordon thing he's talking about, which you watched on here. It was blocked immediately, wasn't it, Sarah? They wouldn't let us play 20 seconds of it. That's the one he's on God knows what during this thing, and it's very obvious.
Award shows are tough to play in general. But.
Yes. It's so precious about it.
Documentary. And he tried and he tried and he tried.
Ambient voice is good.
See if you can find it on YouTube. 2014 Hollywood Awards, Johnny Depp documentary award, and just look at the guy. An absolute mess. And you're a mess if you have to present an award on a television show. I don't care if it's only shown in Sheboygan. Do you really want to go on there and just be that person?
So in other words, Sheboygan is beneath Los Angeles. Because you can only be from
everything
Los
is beneath Los
York.
Angeles.
Right. Everything's beneath New York.
As somebody who lives above Los Angeles and lives in a state where they flee to, they all think everything is below them.
Yeah.
And Ida was pissed off about the flyover state shit when I was talking about Cleveland, I think. And it is weird, horrible. These fucking coastline arrogance of New York and LA thinking they're the only thing that this the fact that we have a phrase called flyover states is reason enough to. It's embarrassing to me that people talk, and they do. People shit stains like Howard, right? Look at like these cities. Chicago is as hip as any city. It's probably better than New York at this point. It's certainly cleaner. I bet it's better to live there. I bet it's cheaper. I've heard it's better.
I just remember Howard trashing Cleveland when he had to go induct Bon Jovi into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, it's horrible.
And like you had to do nothing for that. Like why complain?
If you were from Cleveland, you should hate his guts and stop listening to his show. Don't. He just completely. And it's not like it's some shtick he's doing. It's not funny at all. It's just some elitist, fucking arrogant bullshit, ignorant bullshit. Disney probably has had people bumped off Y.68. I think. I mean, certainly.
Scrooge McDuck.
That's yeah.
Person. It's like in the reality shows when everybody gets hammered, wasted.
They killed him with a pencil.
2 drinks. 2 drink maximum. Because otherwise you just look like an idiot.
Like an idiot.
And when you're Johnny Depp and people expect something of you, and then you go on an award show and you basically, by you doing that, you're basically saying, it doesn't matter. I'll do what I want. And
Yeah, he sounds like he's chewing 20 Junior Mints at the same time.
I really want a Junior Mint now.
I know.
20 would be
That
great.
might be the top 3 candies of all time.
It's so good.
It is good.
I mean, the problem is when you record yourself speaking when you're laying on your side, your saliva and stomach acid rises to the top of your throat.
He's under the covers, like someone said. I think you said it.
Yeah.
I think he's Dutch ovening himself, and that's like the he's inhaling his fumes and he's loving it.
To quote David, one of the songs I just recorded as Depp for the album, "Rolling like thunder under the covers."
Don't give
Depp's
it all
buddy
away.
Elton John, and I guess that's why they call it the blues.
And that's basically what Johnny Depp's life is that I don't care what you say or do or ask. I'm going to do what I want. And that's basically...
And he doesn't do what he wants. He does what everybody else tells him to do all the time, every time.
Right.
Howard's, I think Sara would lick Diane Lane like a cat. Crazy Robin, I believe.
Back in the day, not so much
Back
now.
in the day. Camilla would.
You
I'm
know,
an ageist.
what judges or divides, I guess not judges, what divides the good from the bad. And
Let me just explain this pic really quick, Crazy Robin. That is Depp's publicist on our right, his left. Charlie Sheen is obviously on his right. I thought it was Emilio Estevez for like 25 years. It's not. It's his publicist, Jeff Ballard, who has pedophile tendencies and is now passed away mysteriously. Rumors, right? Allegedly. 3 weeks ago, died out of nowhere, and I think he died at 63. And he's this weird publicist who is just a who's who of. He's obsessed with he's obsessed with the Van Patten family from Hate Is Enough, and what's the guy? What Jesus Christ from Soul Man?
C. Thomas Howell.
C. Thomas Howell, right?
Yeah.
and a celebrity. Throughout this time period, there was this troubling quality other than
I think so too. Autobot
his
Generation X is the best.
beating of women and drug addiction.
We raised a bunch of crap shit.
He was kind of showing his mafia stone cold killer side.
Reality Bites.
And I think that we should review this a little bit. So we have the first one on Halloween night, 1993.
You want to field this question, Manny Trio? Goddamn, David, is it the closeted straight man? I'm just asking for a friend.
If this is Howard, no, thank you.
You and Sara have the same taste. You two from that 90210 podcast.
We do?
Yeah.
Do we?
Yeah.
What's the taste?
In men. Oh God, speaking of
I don't remember talking about men on that episode. Okay.
What is the origin of you saying I hate men?
I don't know.
What
it is it's like an anti. It's a kind of like a forced feminist thing I'm doing.
Right.
I'm just trying to be like
Reductive
Mr.
feminism.
Progressive. Yeah, reductive.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be Mr. Progressive. I am progressive.
No,
a lot of me is. But I'm just trying to like crowbar
performative liberalism.
Yeah, performative. Yeah. Right. So I'm saying it's just funny
it's
to
hilarious,
hear me. I feel it is. Anyway, I'm probably beating it to death. I don't care.
About 3 years ago.
Body of River Phoenix on the sidewalk outside the Viper Room.
I hate men.
On the Sunset Strip.
Sue Monster loves it.
It shows that even if you say that he didn't kill him, that he could watch somebody die and not do anything. The only thing anybody did was what.
Agreed, Autobots. Milk duds are better, but that's number one. That might be number one. I agree. A little bit better.
Him trying to make a phone call. Nobody else did anything. No passerbys, no anything. And they dragged him out to the street. Because this was the year the club opened, right?
His friends and his brother dragged him out to the street.
It's heartbreaking.
So dramatic.
In 2002, 2001, the last week of 2001, he flees the country. At the same time, his business partner is presumably murdered by the mafia.
That's right, The Outsider. C. Thomas Howell's in that with Matt
knew
Macchio.
to flee. He knew to leave. He knew to get out of town.
Thank you, Ida.
I just find it to be the strangest coincidence that this happened like that.
We're the ambiguously gay
That
duo.
he didn't have some kind of knowledge that this was going to happen. That he couldn't have possibly warned.
I hate men.
Fox to do this,
I would
but
wear
at the
that in
time,
public. I would. Can you
he
make
didn't have
that,
any
Sarah?
money.
I hate men.
No.
He couldn't have paid back all the money he
Aria.
stole. Later on, the only reason he was able to pay it was not just because of the money he made from pirates, because he had so many things to pay back. It's because Disney wrote the checks. All Johnny had to do was give his shares,
I agree
his
with
half
this.
of the Viper Room. Disney wrote the big check.
He was in Animal Kingdom too. He played a
Secret
naval
Admirer,
Like a
and
bonus
I
to
actually
his-
like
his
Skull Man.
salary.
Send me to hell. I don't care. I own it on
I
DVD.
love Ray Dong Chun.
And
I
you know
love
what?
me
He
some
got
Ray
lucky
Dong Chun.
because if pirates had bombed, he was going to lose. We already know because the judge ruled against him and everything.
Kelly Preston's in Secret Admirer.
And if pirates had bombed,
It's a great
Her
movie.
death, by the way, is really sad. It was bizarre that
Most are.
It was but this one it was kind of like it didn't even get a lot of attention. It didn't seem like it didn't get a lot of attention. It just sort of died, and it was bizarre. I think she's exactly Depp's age, or maybe even younger.
Travolta's had some. He lost a son too, didn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Did you see him at the Oscars?
I didn't. I didn't watch the.
They
Oscars
had
this year.
him. Oh God, this is this is homework for you, Sarah. And you're gonna say no, and I don't care, but I'm gonna announce why. Did you know Anne Heche was left out of the memoriam?
Yes, I know a few people were. Paul
What the
Sorvino was left
fuck?
out.
How do you leave them out? Who made that?
I know.
Was there some bias, like axe to grind with
There is
the
a bias with
Sorvino?
everything that town does. Sorry, David.
Do you think
Yeah, no.
Weinstein has anything to because Mira Sorvino has the thing with Weinstein?
Well, Mira Sorvino tweeted, "How could you leave my father out of this?"
Did she really?
Yeah.
Oh, I got to see that. I was so enraged about Anne Heche, like I couldn't even think of anything else. I'm like, I'm prancing around, and I'm thinking about making my own memorial. So I think we're gonna make an Anne Heche in memoriam, just her.
Well,
It's gonna be nothing but Brasco.
Say what you want about late Corey Haim. His early career was almost genius. He was the greatest thing in Lucas.
Absolutely.
And they left him off.
Absolutely.
But instead, a key grip who did a movie in 1962 makes it.
But my point was Travolta came out, and the first two people are Kirstie Alley and Olivia Newton-John.
Mm-hmm.
After all that,
Right.
and he was crying, and I don't blame him. I guess he volunteered to do it. He was like, he came out, he couldn't hold it in. He was
Do you know
crying.
also he was like almost best friends with Lisa Marie Presley?
I didn't know that.
I did
not know that.
Well, isn't that the Scientology connection?
Yeah, but she would call him and bitch about Scientology. So I think he at one point kind of distanced himself.
Right.
I'm not sure though.
Yeah.
And he had a statement. He was one of the few Scientologists that I think had a statement after she died.
For all intents and purposes, and Tarantino resuscitated his career. That's fine. He's supposed to be a very nice guy. I've never heard a mean thing about him.
I think he's just hiding
ever.
a lot, and that has
I
affected him
knew you were going to
mentally.
say that. Your whole life was dedicated to outing Tom Cruise and John Travolta.
Well, watch Going Clear, and they hint at why he's a Scientologist.
Okay.
Did he memorialize Kirstie Alley by playing clips from Madhouse with John Larroquette?
In all fairness, Jimmy Kimmel, who we go after because of the Howard Connection stuff, he made a Scientology joke during his monologue. He said, "Oh God, who's the Dianetics guy again?"
L. Ron Hubbard.
L. Ron Hubbard. He goes, did you see someone with their shirt off Oh, Tom Cruise and because Tom Cruise wasn't at the Oscars, and so it got nominated for a ton of stuff. And they go, Tom Cruise has his shirt off and he goes, "Oh, did you see Tom Cruise with his shirt off? El Ron Hubba Hubba." And he did that because Cruise wasn't there.
Well, I guess it must be cool in woke LA to make fun of Scientology now. So.
Now it is, right? I don't know what's.
I love the idea of like if Tom Cruise was there, he goes up and slaps Jimmy Kimmel and says like, "Keep L. Ron Hubbard's name out of your mouth."
I'd be fine with that.
He goes, "I slap because I don't know how to throw a punch."
Maybe they can. Maybe Scientology can. What's that technique they use where they harass people and show up outside their door with a camera?
Yeah. I forget what it's called. But yeah,
I'm blanking right now. But maybe they can do that to Jimmy Kimmel a few times.
That's good. That's true.
Money. He still would have had to give.
Sorry. And Kimmel was also on the Epstein list, apparently.
As far as the Epstein, Epstein,
no, not that. His actual list of friends.
Oh, okay, the Black Book, right?
Yeah.
Is that published anywhere?
I think some people have pulled pages from it.
Look at something to pull, honey.
Share. And he would have been millions and millions and millions of dollars in debt. He already was because of the money he owed to everybody else. So let's say he would have been $10 million in debt. Who just bombed a massive Disney blockbuster. Hey, we've got to write about this. And no go. I'm not sure that he would have ever been able to pay that money back. Because let's face it, everything he has done since Pirates has pretty much just been like a caricature of himself.
A caricature?
He is just...
So John Dillinger is a caricature of Depp. Whitey Bulger is a caricature of Depp. Do you get that sense on any level? That there's now some of it's redundant. There are times where I go, yeah, we don't need some of the Tim Burton stuff can be right. It could be like that sort of goth-zotic thing he does, and there can be redundant, but that is just ridiculous statement. A caricature. It's such a simpleton's phrase now. When I say caricature of himself, I will explain why, and it's such a cliche at this point, and I get really sick of myself when I say it, but I do say it, and he just abused it left and right there. He doesn't even know what he's saying now. Now he sounds like mentally ill right there, and in general, but especially there.
Yeah.
Decided that he can be a cartoon.
No, Camilla's a cartoon.
You know, gone are the days of.
He actually is a cartoon in the Trump Art of the Deal movie, and that's a compliment. The way that's done, that takes a lot of skill to be a walking, breathing cartoon character. He plays like a cartoony Trump, and it's supposed to be, and it's brilliant.
Right. Isn't even that like it's the movie where he plays a lizard, Dungaree?
Yeah. What's the animated movie again? Where he plays there's a Fear and Loathing scene. Rango, right?
Rango, sorry, Dungaree, sorry.
It's great footage of him doing the Rango voiceovers in the studio where he's like performing. And he's like, "Oh, you use it, right?" It's good to see because it's him. It's a different. He looks different in it. He looks really like galvanized and energized, and it's like him just with the word on. And I guess he has that switch he could hit, and I love that footage of him in that studio and with Rango. By the way, same that's Gore Verbinski who directed that, the Pirates director.
And also, by the way, the Scientology thing that they do to you when you are an enemy is they fair game you. That's what it was called.
Oh, really? It's a weird fair game, huh?
They turn about as fair play you.
Yes.
They send Cindy Crawford and Billy Baldwin to your house.
Their goal is to drive you to jump off of a building.
Okay. That really is the motive?
Mm-hmm.
Jesus.
You know, Donnie Darko.
Nancy Cartwright calls in as Bart Simpson to harass you.
Oh, that's right. She's a Scientologist.
The funniest part about that, she's the highest donator in Scientology.
Are you kidding me?
So she's donating all of her Fox money that she's never going to get back. That's hilarious.
Right. What was I going to say? So listen to this gaffe he does here. You lose all credibility when you butcher the name of the best mafia movie in the history of mafia movies.
You know, gone are the days of, you know, Donnie Darko and Lowe and all that kind of stuff.
He might as well have said Donnie Darky. It was that bad. That's the Jake Gyllenhaal movie.
Yeah. Gone
So
are the
people-
days of a horror-ish rabbit movie. Yeah.
Right there, you just shut it off. You shut him down. Donnie Darko. He's got. I mean, there is. I will say the Brad Furman director had said he wanted to see him get back to that, where you're playing like the gritty crime, which is my favorite genre. He does too. There are times where he has strayed too far from it. So he is great at. My favorite genre he does is the crime biopic, the crime drama biopic. He absolutely owns. So if that's what he's saying, that's true, but it doesn't sound like he has a shit together. When you say Donnie Darko, I don't want to listen to anything else.
Gone are the days of Sleepy Hollow in Seattle.
That's a great sketch you just wrote. Ichabod Crane or mid-90s Seattle with Dave Chappelle as his sidekick.
Gone are the days of Finding Nemo Land. I got more. No, I'm good.
Your composing for Finding Nemo is better than the original, by the way.
Thank you.
And a bunch of goofy stuff that he's just doing for a paycheck. And he would have had to do a lot more of those.
Because NT doesn't do anything for a paycheck.
Pirates hadn't been a hit. But you know what? If Pirates hadn't been a hit, I kind of wish it hadn't been. Because then maybe we would know something. Because, you know, when the Disney Corporation gets behind some kind of legal document, you have no chance.
Isaac Hayes is a weird Scientologist.
It's not going to happen. They scare the people who are going to sign him. Nobody wants to go up against him. They literally have 1 million employees. That's probably a bunch of them who are just dedicated to.
Diane D, go back and come in. If your stream is cutting out, that's what we do. That's my solution to everything now. It's you know, the internet's just not perfection, and it's just not. You know, we go through it all the time. It's just still not perfected. I'm always nervous. I'm going to get that slow
I think it's
stream.
getting worse, too.
It might be getting worse. It might be getting worse with more things that are 4K.
So we can pay more money for new things to make it better.
I got to charge us more. Donnie fucking Darko. This schmuck has zero credibility. That's right. Thank you, Ida Greenbacks. I love chatting with you, Gunk and the WINO, sending it now. This is just now in case I fall asleep. Thank you, Ida Greenbacks.
Thank you. Always.
Cleaning the internet of these kind of things. You know, there's this quote he had about Whitey Bulger. And remember, he played him, the mafia hitman. And this is what he said. No respect to any victims or families of victims, but there was some element for me that was kind of glad that he got away. For 16 years, he was on the lam, and he wasn't causing any trouble. He was living his life. Good on him. I don't think his victims were living their good life.
Yeah.
What about good on them? He seems to have this dark side where I think that he wishes he was in the mafia. That he was killing people or being...
That's the way you can pull off Donnie Brasco. You have to pretend you wish you were in the mafia. That's the only way you can do it. In this case, there are times where do you know the Whitey Bulger story? He wanted to research. He wanted to meet with Whitey Bulger, and he said, "Fuck you! I hate you! I don't want you portraying me. I hate the book. All you guys do is fuck up my." You know who he sounds like? He sounds like Bill Burr, the real Whitey Bulger.
Yeah.
Real footage of him once. He's like, "Oh, fuck yourself! I love the Sox and I love the Celts."
Right.
And it's just that
tight
screaming kind
Boston
of
accent.
it's you've heard it. And so Depp just took. I guess they cobbled together what they could of him, and so Depp was trying to be, and I think this was somewhat fake. He was trying to be as respectful as possible to Whitey Bulger to get him to agree to get his blessing to get interviewed for it. I think that's what he was. Those quotes are real quotes, and I think that's what he was doing. Is he just wanted to somehow charm him using his charisma to get his blessing to, and he never did, and he never got to speak to him.
Interesting.
Bulger just said no.
Being a part of death, he doesn't seem to have a whole lot of issues being around death, or close to it, or involved in it.
Depp's had a lot of death in his life.
And I want you to think through all of your friends and find out
15 years.
And think about, have any of them ever been involved in one kind of suspicious death? let alone 2. Let alone a big admirer of a hitman. Especially when the mafia is, probably involved in one of the murders.
Yeah, G Canada, thank you for bringing up South Park. Sarah brought that up. We were talking the other day. That is one entity that, not entity, but entity that has no, they don't have to answer to anybody. They created a thing where they were one of the rare, there's like 5 people in show business that are uncancelable.
Yeah.
That can just do whatever they want, and they haven't gotten soft. If anything, they might have gotten edgier and can go after shit like Scientology on Comedy Central, and nothing happens to them. They're a real unicorn that way. Sarah brought them up the other day. Trey Parker and
Matt Stone. Yeah.
Great animation too. Real good animation. Real high budget. Smooth.
Well, they also are like the anti-Family Guy. Like both those guys criticize Seth MacFarlane and Family Guy, like in interviews. And
stuff
I
didn't. Do they really? I'd like to hear that.
Yeah, because they just they do this great episode of South Park where I forget the premise, but one of the jokes in it is they discovered that the writing staff for Family Guy is a bunch of manatees in a tank, and they have there's like balls in the tank with them that have like a pop culture reference, a place, and like a situation, and they just nudge the balls into different places to go to all the cutaway jokes in Family Guy. Like, this is the worst time,
right?
Worse than the time that Helen Hunt caught me throwing a pie at the firehouse, or and like
totally. And people rip off, to Family Guy's credit, people rip off that technique on YouTube. When you get like YouTube video, when people make YouTube videos where they're doing like, they love doing that, the subliminal pop in interstitial thing that they do, that is so ripped off to their credit. But that is such a crutch for them for Family Guy to do. That's really funny.
Yeah.
Gungadin says this guy should do ASMR videos.
No, it's so distracting.
He's just so quick to jump on this.
So self-important, Josh. You're right.
Mafia bandwagon. He's got this fondness for killers, defending killers, helping killers stay free, and also helping killers go free.
I like my idea that Depp plays
now,
lefty.
One of the things that we're going to talk about in the next episode, in the final one, is we're going to discuss his relationship with the West Memphis 3.
Yeah, I should say that Depp is Al Pacino's age now, when he was in Donnie Brasco. That to make you feel old. Depp is exactly Pacino's age now when he played Joe Pistone. So Pacino as lefty in Donnie Brasco is Depp's age now, and I have a theory that Depp should play lefty if they do a Donnie Brasco like a mini series,
right?
Because if you read the book, it is far more expansive than the movie. There's so much great shit in the book. I recommend to everybody. In fact, I'm going to post on our Patreon Joe Pistone's narration of it. If you want to just go to sleep to something, the book has so many layers that should have been in the movie. And I know this is what, there's a director's cut of the movie and they add 20 minutes. You could have done that. That thing could be 10 2-hour episodes and I would watch it.
Right.
And that's what the book is. And I think they easily could do that with today's options. That's my idea. If I was I'm to tweak his career, we're going to sit down and I'm pitching that from Infinitum Nihil. We're going to do it with Joe Pistone as the consultant. We're going to do a full-blown Donnie Brasco series on Netflix or Amazon or whatever. And he's going to play lefty and we'll try to cast the new Joe Pistone.
Yeah. I mean, it's like we were saying earlier, it's like audiences' sensibilities for what good timing in a movie is are so different that people are just binging. Like even television is consumed differently because they drop a season at one time and people just watch it in one sitting.
And you get spoiled off it. You get spoiled. Right. You get not used to it. I was doing this with something. Oh, my favorite Mayor of Kingstown, which is a role I would love to see Depp play. I binged it and then I go to watching the individual episodes and I couldn't handle it. I'm like, I got to watch a second one. I can't watch one at a time now. I couldn't take it. And it spoils us. Bolger hated Depp, says Gungadin. Yeah, well, he just hated everything and anybody trying to portray his story. He is some nerd, but Depp would have Now, you know Depp's charisma. If he can charm Whitey Bulger like he did George Young in Blow, I mean, that's something else. I bet you Bulger would have fallen prey to his charisma. I guarantee it. If they had met.
Right.
Does this guy realize Depp is an actor? He didn't jump to the conclusion that Depp wants to kill people. Depp also played a candy maker. Does that make Depp want to make out with Skittles?
Well, I go back to that. I go back to that Amber quote in the Savannah Guthrie interview where she's like, how could people believe this man that convinced the world that he had scissors for hands? It's like, I wasn't convinced. I know he's playing a character. I didn't think that was really him.
And you know, she had that rehearsed before she went in there.
Right,
It was like in her holster.
She's continuing.
I got him.
Yeah, she's continuing her audition from the trial on the Savannah Guthrie interview.
Well, that's what I think it was Sara that said that first, that she thought every casting director and was going to be watching that, and look at her. And this is an audition for every casting agent for hours and hours and hours. And he thought it was just going to launch her into, regardless of what the result was, and who cares what the result is, because you know what you think. You don't need 7 jurors telling you who's innocent and who's guilty. I have my own truth. I don't need them telling me what I already know. 30 years of South Park, never missed an episode, says you can. There's a lot of people like him that just are still with that show. It's incredible what a run it's had. I'm going to end this right here. It's a good place to go.
Did
South
we finish
Park,
part 2?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Hold on a second.
Because that's a lot of death. That's and he is intimately involved with them. Let the guy, one of them live in his house for a long, long time, not just a couple of months. So he let a guy who I still think is a stone cold killer and creepy, share the same house with his wife and daughter and son.
He's not married
at times when they weren't in Paris. And just, isn't it interesting that out of all the people he could hang out with, he admires people like Whitey Bulger and the Mafia and the guy from West Memphis 3, and he hangs out with Marilyn Manson, who also has an affinity for the West Memphis 3.
I hate Marilyn Manson, but apparently Damien Eccles.
They were massive Manson fans when they were accused of the murder.
Did they admit to that, or they just assumed it because of the way they looked that they were Manson fans?
No, they were Manson fans.
So Damien Eccles, Depp set up, him and Eddie Vedder, in fact, set up when he got out of prison and accused, he's innocent. And so he lost 30 years of his life, and they set him up, and that's who he's calling a killer. Let him live with him.
Right.
I mean, Marilyn and Johnny and Eccles, I can't remember his name right this second, but they all got matching tattoos.
Damien Eccles.
Who gets a matching tattoo with a killer? Is that something that you do? Is that something that says, hey, that sounds like a good idea?
Now, I'm with him on that. I could do without Marilyn Manson entirely. I would eradicate him from his life. And as far as we know, I have not seen Depp bring up Manson's name on any level, and I do believe he's gotten advice that's back off this guy now. I don't care who's thinking they're making up shit or whatever. Just don't. Your affiliation with him ain't helping shit. And the legal team, Vasquez and Chu and everybody else, really worked hard to keep his name, and they tried to bring it up and they shot it down over and over again. It can't help.
Well, I'm sure the Evan Rachel Wood stuff is like, that's getting so much traction. Like, you have to shut up about your friendship with this guy,
Yeah, no matter who is embellishing, or there are people who are trying to jump on the back, they're making it up, there are so many accusers of him. Where there's smoke, there is most definitely fire somewhere. And so, the only Depp was forced into bringing it up that he talked too much. That's during the trial that he didn't bring it up. But there's no.
I will say, I have some backstage footage of the Downward Spiral tour where Manson opened for him, and their behavior was really weird. But so I would assume that they were into some stuff that would not be appropriate today. But some of these accusers, they have fallen off because they've been proven to be liars.
Hmm.
Not saying all of them.
Yeah.
I think he's a weirdo. I think he's a weirdo tryhard, but some of them have been proven to be liars.
Didn't he straight up admit to some of the shit in his book?
That was character shit too.
Well, he's writing it. That what was
It's
supposed
not
to know
smart
his book
to write a book.
I know. It's bizarre. I don't know where it's gonna go. It's crazy. It's still going. It's been going on for years now too. The back and forth on it. I'm really interested to see where it lands ultimately. Matt and Trey, yeah, Team America. That's what Sara brought up. Midlife crisis. That's what she brought up. That's why Matt Stone and Trey Parker came. It wasn't even South Park. You brought up Team America, right? How that happened.
Mm-hmm.
He's trolling Lauren Marie, and he's not. He probably is more trolling because he has an axe to grind beyond this. He has a genuine dislike of Depp in some way that goes beyond what even this is, and I'd love to know.
Well, this podcast is very popular.
It
and
is.
I've been contacted, because we're doing this show, been contacted asking, how you can defend this murder. He killed River Phoenix. He killed Anthony Fox. So people are listening to this podcast.
Sara, what was the email you were telling me about the other day? You got asking somebody gave you, it was a good email. Somebody gave you like a hint or about something. It was a.
Somebody sent me a picture. I sent it to you.
What was it about? What was it of again?
Josh Richmond or Richmond.
Oh, right, Josh. Thank you. Who was it? It was Josh Richmond walking into court. I'm trying to find the video of it with the picture, and I want to at some point play the video. Thank you, Midlife Crisis. Yeah, Joe Pistone's book could be 4 seasons and 10 episodes. Exactly right. I could just visual. It's right there for him in a blueprint, just from the book. It's all right there, all of it.
And Johnny basically, well, he didn't pay for a lot of the legal thing. He paid for, I'd say, a third, and then Eddie Vedder paid for some, and Marilyn Manson raised money. And
Eddie Vedder's a murderer too.
But it's just
so is Natalie Maines.
Feeling that Johnny's just close to these people who
she murdered Fleetwood
are
Mac
killers, were killers, are being
Courtney
killed
Love.
in front of him. And that's why when I think more and more about all these people that are killers and all the people around him.
Did she sing that? Hold on.
She's a Gold Dust Woman.
Courtney Love sang Landslide?
No, she's saying Gold Dust Woman. Come on, let's go.
How do I know that?
Maybe it wasn't so hard. And it's not hard to believe that he could have killed River.
It wasn't George Youngungandin. It was.
I mean, just look at all this stuff
I thought
in
he
his
was
life.
talking about him too. Blow.
So tomorrow we're also going to talk about and discuss just his recent downward spiral the last year and a half or so, and we are going to go so deep into the Amber Heard stuff and the dogs and the arrest, and don't forget,
it's a weird way of putting it,
that
so deep.
As much as Amber got beat up by Johnny,
so deep
into Amber Heard,
dogs.
Johnny was when they met. I mean, he's never really been sober, but he was more sober.
Depp and Son of Sam have marching barbed wire
stuff.
tattoos. It's his toe and
But then he meets Miss Cocaine.
Jesus.
Never met Snow she didn't like. And, she wants to party. And
Snow Bunny.
I think there was a lot of pressure. I think it's just like the Ariana Grande, a Mac Miller, kind of Pete Davidson thing where, hey, I want to party. If you want to party, then, you're going to be around Coke.
I don't party.
Because I'm not going to stop.
You want to party?
So you can either ignore it or whatever. And I think that she kind of, I'm not saying that you can't make somebody take it.
Tone Cut, I watched the documentary on
He
those
introduced
two.
her to Coke?
Courtney Love?
No. What we just heard.
No, he didn't. Well, I was talking about Courtney Love and.
Yes, I know. Well, he's talking about Amber Heard.
Go ahead, finish it.
No, let it play.
Aren't you commenting on it? Why'd you say that?
No, I thought maybe you would listen to it.
I am listening to it.
Yeah, okay. So he said, I'm asking, is he hinting that Depp introduced her to cocaine?
Yes, of course he is. He's introduced everybody to cocaine. You, me, everybody. Courtney Love, I watched the documentary, Tone Cut, and I feel I got me thinking she murdered him too. I never even gave it, but it's crazy.
but you can make them feel pretty bad. And you can kind of help manipulate them into really wanting to do it, I guess, or pushing them over the edge. So I think there was some of that. But what it did was, when he started doing the hard drugs, it's like a whole nother level. You know, we had Johnny Depp bad before, but now it's worse. And then you combine that with because Marilyn Manson's not a good influence. And the next thing you know, like this whole time when Johnny went to Russia, we're going to have some lines about that and some people he met. I'm going to talk about the hotel room that he left completely bloodied. I mean, not just little drips and drops, but I mean, like, it's shocking that he could have walked out of there alive, amounts of blood. And we're going to talk about
being sober is for children.
The Russian teenagers that he met on his most recent trip to Russia, and basically how this rock star thing, he's kind of taking it a little 1970s rock star.
And
I think
he would do that today.
That also might have a little something to do with Disney saying, you know, maybe we don't want you around. Because that's the last thing Disney or Nick needs right now, right? It's for somebody who recorded a known to Johnny with somebody maybe he didn't want to be recorded with, and the pictures come out on the internet right when, you know, Pirates of the Caribbean, whatever part we're on, opens. And, you know, I don't think that's something Disney wanted to see. So they didn't really have a lot of choice. What are they going to do? They're just going to roll the dice on this thing that they want to make $1 billion on and keep Johnny Depp, who's got to be he just looks horrible, doesn't he? So anyway, we're going to talk about that. We'll talk about West Memphis 3. We'll talk about Amber Heard. We'll talk about the Russian teenagers. We'll talk about the blood in the hotel room. We'll talk about Marilyn Manson and how he kind of fits in and ties it all together, and just some of the people that Johnny is meeting on tour that aren't good for him. It's going to be a pretty wild third episode. I really didn't think we could get to 3 episodes. I thought it would be 2, but it's just too much. So I hope that you will join me tomorrow on Halloween night. Yeah, for Halloween. It'll be posted on Halloween. All right. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Oh. He really means St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah.
He's just saying.
he had to end the episode. His mom's meatloaf was ready.
Yeah.
I will say this with Disney. There is something that truly what you heard in the trial, they haven't said this straight up, but the insurance thing is a major thing. When he's admitting to the major drug use and a lot of the delinquencies and stuff, you have to be insured for these movies. And he's lying, he's having Kipper lying on physicals and stuff, which did happen. And they have it's in documents. It's in the, you could read about it over and over again.
Yeah. Which
I'm not saying I wouldn't have done the same thing either. I'm sure I'd lie on physicals too. But once that's out there in the trial, that's going to stymie a lot of major, your Warner Brothers, your Disney, to hiring him in such a capacity. He could drop dead on the set while they're filming something. That's not out of the realm. You've heard the hard drugs he's doing. That is not, he's a super heavyweight in the constitution of the juggernaut, but for Christ's sake, that's everything. The insurance thing.
Oh yeah. No, there's a whole, there's a movie, Postcards from the Edge, with Meryl Streep, and Carrie Fisher wrote it, and Meryl Streep is basically playing Carrie Fisher. And the premise of the movie is Meryl plays a movie star who gets fired from a movie because they can't get insurance on her because she's doing so many drugs and she's got to, all this stuff. So yeah,
I'm
that's
gonna watch that. I'm gonna watch that.
It's really good.
What year did it come out?
1990.
And so you were like 40 when that came out. So
yes,
or 50. So it's Meryl Streep is playing Carrie Fisher.
Yes.
And that's a fact, or they think she's playing Carrie Fisher?
No, I mean
it's a book she wrote. It was
it's a book,
based off the book she wrote.
No, I'm gonna watch that. I'm gonna totally watch it.
Shirley MacLaine plays Meryl Streep's mother, so Shirley MacLaine is basically playing Debbie Reynolds and Dennis Quaid's, and I think it's Carrie Fisher's a very talented writer. Like she's very witty and I think very funny. So it's a good movie. It's a good like behind the scenes of movie showbiz kind of movie. I think you'd enjoy it.
What did Carrie Fisher say about it?
Well, she was involved in it, so I mean, I'm sure she enjoyed it.
What was Meryl Streep's name in the movie?
Oh, that's a good question. It was Ferry Kisher. No, I don't know.
Yeah.
I forget the character's name, but yeah, no, it's a solid watch.
Sarah, what do you think about the movie? You've seen it how many times?
I've watched it once. I liked it.
I'm looking for, it's obviously a movie I've seen the cover for the box and I've heard about. It's just one of those like, really, really highly touted movies I've never seen. And there's just a long list of stuff you just never got around to. I don't see everything.
It was an extension of my Eddie Fisher, Liz Taylor affair.
Okay.
Obsession. Anyway.
Yeah.
Carrie did a lot of coke during the Star Wars years. Yeah, there's a whole thing with her. Did she and Mark Hamill actually dated during that, or is that?
Well,
not?
she wrote in her last. they
like
wrote
a young Mark Hamill.
She wrote in her final book that she had a relation. I don't know. She was hooking up with Harrison Ford. She admitted. And she's in that Warren Beatty movie Shampoo for like.
Oh yeah. Lauren, I agree 100%. If this guy met Depp, he'd be so starstruck. He'd stammer to explain himself and backtrack on everything. I agree.
Yeah.
I think his charisma and magnetism would shoot down everything. He would lose. He's already stammering here. What do you think in the presence of Depp would happen?
Yeah.
And I think he'd have the same hypnotic effect on Whitey Bulger himself. Welcome, Gina Bobina. We just started, Gina. We got 3 more hours left. Thank you.
We're going 4 more.
She's here just in time. I don't know how she does it. We just started.
It's like one of the OG Deppenings where you went on for 8 hours.
I know. The hardest part about that was the morning to try to it'd be the first words I'd spoken. And it was just like, I had the here it is now. I don't know if you heard that.
Oh, I've been doing that too.
How do you feel, Sarah, after this?
I lost my voice for a second there, but I pulled a muscle in my side from coughing. So I'm going to sleep with a heating pad tonight. But I have 2 days to recover. But we're doing Jump Street tomorrow, so I got to get over it.
Are you in on that, David?
I have to work tomorrow. Yeah.
That's okay.
My Saturdays are kind of booked for a little bit, but I have Fridays open pretty frequently, so I can jump in on the live shows.
Can you join us next Sunday? No pressure.
I can, yeah, actually.
Okay.
The 26th, is it?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I can do that.
I'll send you an email.
Okay, great.
We could. I mean, we don't have to do it, or no. I can get. We're trying to do it in continuity, but I can give you whichever episode you like. It's just like within each other, and if it's more tailored towards your proclivities, you could choose one of the 2 premises. I don't know if there's shitty ones coming up or not. I got to look at how that rolls
You mentioned like a performing arts school one.
Yeah, Fame. That's for season 3. Yes.
I'd love to sit in on that one.
Totally.
I should be. April and May got busy with the Streisand wedding, so.
If anybody's out there, Sarah, I was talking to. Did you know, just to tie this into Depp? Depp actually auditioned and got turned down. Did not get the Fame television series that came out after the movie.
Thank God.
He was. I don't know what he was auditioning for. I'd heard this a few times. The television series only aired for 2 seasons. I went and looked up the whole thing on NBC. It was on Crazy Night with Cheers and the Cosby Show and everything. Apparently it was at 8:00, and then it aired for 2 seasons, got canceled. It got picked up in syndication again, and then went 3 more seasons in syndication. It's a really interesting list of people who were on that show too. If you get to see the
Carol Burnett's daughter Carrie was on that show, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Didn't she have a tragedy with a daughter committing
That's
suicide?
No. The daughter had cancer, actually.
Oh, okay.
And that's the daughter who was on Fame.
I want to see it. I'm going to write a fanfic comic book movie of evil Gina Bobina versus the real good witch Gina Bobina in a battle to the end in a commentary chat, and the real. I'm not spoiling anything, but the good Gina Bobina with the Bobulians will win out. I'll guarantee it. I'll get Joe Pistone. Netflix is going to pick it up. I'll guarantee it. It'll turn it into an animated series with a cameo from Camilla the Catstronaut.
Okay, so everybody join us next Sunday. Again, Friday night, probably not doing a live show because of Arm has another scheduling thing. But so we'll do Sunday afternoon. In between, come join us on patreon.com/WINO forever for all the in-between stuff.
Blacks, Jews, Hispanics, whatever. And people.
What do you think about that? Sarah, can you name that episode?
No.
Fun with Animals. 3, episode 1, the debut of Rico.
That's a great way to get new subscribers.
Hashtag fun with animals when you write the description.
That's going after Greco for calling Greco a racist.
Oh, by the way, when you write this description, put Vanderpump Rules as a word.
Okay, I will.
Thank you.
Oh, that's a great
Invited her. You disgust me.
Okay.
That was Jason Momoa, Sarah,
Mm-hmm.
for your information. Anyway, I want to thank everybody for joining us here. Fun show. We just went everywhere. A lot of information was dispensed, and we can't do it without you guys. Join our Patreon. I will make it worth your while if you have any Howard Red Meat requests. I think the next thing I'm going to do, I think you'll all enjoy this. I'm going to resuscitate all the roasts at once.
Nice.
Not at once, well, in succession. So I don't know. Maybe I'll do it in order. Maybe I won't. But when I'll post the entire roast, the Stern roast, like the Artie one, and then I will put the wrap-up show they did after it with it.
Right.
So I will merge the two because the wrap-up show was not videotaped. So I'll put the video roast and I will put the audio of the wrap-up show repartee following it, and I will merge the two together. There's a lot of great stuff. How Beth was mortified by the Sal jokes and stuff.
I was going to say well, not even the wrap-up show, but like there's a clip from Howard's show where Beth calls in and plays like a big martyr thing where it's like,
yeah, that's exactly right. Yes,
me and my horse face are
yes,
gonna, like
yes.
you know, and she hangs up because she thought Sal was insulting her again. Yeah,
exactly. So all that's going to be added to it at the end,
and it's $2 all you can eat.
We didn't even want to do it. It was just to get so we can do full-blown commentaries without worrying about the Nazis.
Movie watch-alongs, all that.
Yeah.
I told you I'm waging war on the NBA broadband, right? I'm staging protests of the league pass and stuff for them. Could you imagine having? I had a theory. I don't want to bore you with this, but it's just a great. So I watched the documentary with Tim Donaghy, the crooked referee who got convicted being in with the mafia for fixing games. Mm-hmm. He went to jail, and so I'm watching this thing, and at some point they go, our lawyers, Donaghy's lawyers, and the NBA's lawyers, David Stern's lawyers, had to go through footage of every single basketball game in the last 20 years to go who's fixing games and how shady is this. So this is like years ago. I had an NBA channel. NBA broadband has been going on a rampage, taking games down. My theory is, because what harm could you do with a VHS copy of a Pacers Bullets game from 1988 with bad tracking in it? What could you possibly do with that? It's not like they're not selling it. You can't even buy it from it. So what are you so precious about? My theory is, and it's a conspiracy theory I'm proud of, is that the NBA is terrified you're going to find footage of shady games where they're fixing it. And that's why they take the games down. That they think people are going to be poking around too much.
It's like Howard, the internet is his worst enemy because all the shit that he said that doesn't fit in with his branding now is going to follow him.
Yes. Because why else would you give a shit about some stupid VHS copy of something? I know that's how they operate. And the NBA is generating a lot of money with that. And the thing is, they said that their TV partners is what they're terrified about, that they'll bail on them. That's where they make most of their money. Right. I'm positive of it. I'm really sticking with it. Anyway, David, I want to thank you so much for hanging
Thanks,
with us.
guys.
Cannot do it. Seriously, you're such a great addition and such a great presence, and to bounce off you and just great energy. The
I love it.
opposite energy of Whitey Bulger in I should say. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Midlife Crisis. This is ARM. And I think I'm going to do that Sara song as that. This is ARM for David and, of course, Sara saying, no time is a good time for goodbye.
Somebody needs to see you out. Papa me on the couch.
Moo! 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 I'm a loser! Eh?
Sit down. Stay where you are. For the first time, I choose to walk out on you.
Or 21 Jump.